Supreme Rice. Since the 1930s, supporting Louisiana farmers and communities throughout Louisiana. To find out more, go to supremerice.com.
Live at lunch.
You are looking live.
Live at lunch. Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
What the hell's going on out here?
Now, here's Jimmy Ott and Charles Hannegriff.
Yeah, for some reason or another, you sound a little taller on radio.
Is it live? Is it live? Is it live? Is it live?
From Rufino's on Highland Road. Lock of the Week Friday, presented by Tex Morris and Edward Jones Investments. Here, I'm Charles Hannegriff, along with former Tiger Richard Dixon, Max Gotro. Jimmy has the day off, mostly. He's going to join us for his picks at 11 o'clock, and then he's off to Tuscaloosa. I think I'd rather go to work.
Yeah, I mean, me too.
No, I don't even think I'd rather go to work. I'd rather go to work, okay? I'd rather mow grass this afternoon in the rain than go to Tuscaloosa right now.
Yeah, I mean, I feel good about a lot of things I'm hearing, but it's a tough trip.
No, we're going to talk a lot about LSU and their chances and everything that's happened. I just mean, I don't want to go to Tuscaloosa. No, I deal with the drive. You have to be there, okay? And you have to walk through the Alabama fans who are – I've been there enough times, okay? There is the games where LSU and Alabama were equal, the 11 game, the 19 game. Those are high energy. It's that apprehension, that excitement that, is very rarely comes on. You might get that game once every 5 years, okay? Those kind of games. Yeah. But I've also been there when LSU was a decided favorite, like in 07, which was fun. The most fun time I've ever had in Tuscaloosa, 07, because I wasn't there in 19, okay? But a lot of those trips where LSU's a decided underdog, you have to deal with those people, okay? And it ain't fun.
I've been one time outside of being recruited, and one time once I was done playing it was the 11 game.
Well, okay,
so
that was.
I enjoyed every minute of it.
No, that was a great college football game, and despite the fact there was no touchdown scored in it, I found that was as old school, physical, two very equal teams. The apprehension, of one play. I remember watching that game going, Trent Richardson can break one at any time. Mm-hmm. If there's one play in this game that breaks, one blown assignment in the secondary for either team could mean the ball game. And Alabama actually did bust one. Russell Shepard got behind him, and Jefferson just underthrew him a little bit, but it was still a big play in the game. Those kind of games.
I remember Eric Reed's interception. I mean, that was play of the game. I mean,
that was one of the great plays. I remember Wing's punt, that there was a real field flipper when they had to have it. No, that was a great game. When you go over there and LSU's a decided underdog, especially in the weakened condition that LSU is in, I don't know if I want to deal with it. Jimmy will have fun. I understand why Jimmy's going. He's going to spend the weekend with his son, who's a student there, and they'll have a great time, family stuff and dad and son and all that stuff. But I got a feeling that the game is not going to go particularly well for LSU. But we'll see. So one of the themes this week, Rich, has been, when has there been less of less talk about LSU and Alabama, that this game has flown under the radar? And I'm not good at very many things, but I got a decent memory. 21. Wasn't all that long ago. Yeah. LSU went there, virtually no chance to win the game in most people's mind, including mine. It was 1 year off the COVID year. Orgeron had already, been fired, and Alabama was still coached by Nick Saban. They were supposed to run over LSU like an 18-wheel truck, and they didn't. LSU had a pass to the end zone to win the doggone thing, so that could happen tomorrow. But that's the last time. Coaching search takes precedence over anything we do. An LSU football,
especially this one.
An LSU football coaching search is the lead topic of anybody's discussion in this town when it's going on. I know, because the very first solo show I ever did was when they were going to hire Jerry DiNardo, and that coaching search went on for damn near 3 weeks, which back in 1994 was a long time. And they had a coach hired, Pat Sullivan, and then they didn't, and it just dominated. And this was pre-internet, this was pre-social media, of course, and so people were glued to talk radio. It's like, what's going on? So I understand why coaching search takes precedence and why Alabama, LSU is kind of taking a back seat to this. But we've seen LSU play, inspired football in this spot before. You talk to a lot of ex-players, and you kind of got a vibe for what they might be feeling right now. What's going through their heads, you think?
Anytime that things didn't go your way, then you implement some change, and there's new hope. I mean, look, there's a lot of kids on that team that I'm sure respected Brian Kelly, and there's some that didn't. But everything that I've heard, all the guys I've talked to, is it's re-energized in there. They're talking about the hitting at practice, where I heard an interview with Braylon Moore said it was the most fun he's had at practice ever. You hear the guys are talking about this, the pads thumping. This is one of those times where these guys can get inspired, get re-energized, go play loose, because there's nothing to lose at this point. I mean, they're as free as they can play all year long, and this just go have fun.
Jimmy calls it the pile-on effect when a coach leaves here, and he's right. And it happens even more with assistant coaches. When assistant coaches come in here, when they're hired, this is what we've been waiting for. And when they leave, they were the worst ever. Okay, with head coaches, it goes that way too. But you've been on a lot of teams. You ever been on a team where everybody liked the coach?
No, I mean,
so even and you've been on championship teams. Okay,
yeah.
So every team is going to have at least some guys on there that don't like the coach.
Well, I mean, to me, it's everybody's gonna. It's more about respecting the coach. I cannot like somebody but still respect them.
You've talked about coaches here that you didn't particularly care for, but
to me, it's a respect. You cannot like the guy, but you got to love your team, and to me, that part of that is something the coach is doing right. If he's got everybody got each other's back, everybody caring for each other. There was times when we'd pull a guy to the side that's going head to head with the coach on something. We're like, look, we get it. Don't play. You're not playing for him. You're playing for us. And a lot of that is just rallying the guys around the team. And if you make it about team, it doesn't always matter.
All right, let's talk about some of the things that tangible things that they can do in this game. We've heard for 2 weeks that they're going to run the ball more, and I believe that they are going to try to run the ball more. Problem with that is they got the same offensive line that they had before. In fact, they've got less of an offensive line potentially, because we know that Tyree Adams is out. We know that Karius Kern, okay, if he plays, is he going to be compromised at all? And even if he isn't compromised, it's still his third start. It's still Tuscaloosa, and the rest of the offensive line is the offensive line. So this is one of those things, Rich, I think that sounds wonderful on Friday afternoon. We're going to run the ball tomorrow. Okay, it's the same offensive line that has been keeping you from running the football most of the year. Now, they're going to try it more, but what if they get in there and it doesn't work? What if the first 8 carries go for 12 yards,
Deflating. There's things they can do different. It's the same offensive line. It's not the same coordinator. It's not the same coach. It's not the same scheme. You've heard it from the morning guys, Jake and Matt, all the time talk about how the amount of zone. There was no power schemes. They weren't coming in there running counter and lead and bringing a few different aspects to it that that you can get guys going straight forward. Get away from the RPO. Let those guys play with a full head of steam and not have to worry about a pass being called and then being downfield. So there's little packages they can do different. 100% sell out on the run. This isn't a read play. We're not going out there to where we might pop pass it or pull it, or no options. You know what the job is. You know what the scheme is. Hit the guy as hard as you can.
Here's the positive part, since I want to try to see both sides of it here, and just the way the things have been going the last 2 weeks. My first one is to go, what if this doesn't work? Here's the good news. Okay, when we watch Ole Miss, I think Ole Miss has got a puncher's chance at the national championship. But what I think will ultimately do them in is their rush defense. We saw what happened, in the Georgia game. ultimately, I think Ole Miss is going to run up against somebody that's going to muscle them a little bit and is just going to run the football too much, and they're going to lose. But they got an outside chance. Alabama's rush defense and Ole Miss's rush defense are the same. That would surprise a lot of people. It surprised me when I was going through my notes yesterday.
No.
The Ole Miss rush defense gives up 150 yards a game, and Alabama gives up 149. So forget about your perceptions of what you think Ole Miss is and you think Alabama is. This is the reality that in November of this year, the Ole Miss rush defense and the Alabama rush defense are statistically identical. So if you do run some of this power stuff, Alabama has proven to be vulnerable to this.
No, Alabama's gotten beat up a little bit in the run game, and that's where, I have this feeling, like, I'm not saying that, I think LSU's going to go out there and win it, but I think that they're going to play hard, play inspired, and keep it closer than people think. When you have this type of energy and you're going to have guys that sell out and want to do something that's different, that they want to go out there and prove their toughness, look, you're going to get the best effort. And, look, if it works, it works, and it's going to be fun. If not, look, they've been running the other offense for all year long. They can get back into some plays.
And I think you've got a back in Harlem Berry that is for November is pretty lightly raced.
Yeah,
you're a horse racing guy, lightly raced. I think he's ready to have one of those heavy workload games.
Yeah, I mean that was the frustrating thing to me. I mean, there was a lot of things that went wrong in the second half of the A&M game, but they were running the ball well in the first half. I mean, Harlem Berry averaged 7 yards a carry in the first half, and we just went away from it. And that's where I get frustrated, because we've seen what he can do. I feel like he plays with the best vision. He's a natural runner. And just let that guy get there and get 20 carries.
In 2000, if you're looking for a ray of hope for a team that goes in 21, they went in with a lame duck coach. It's time to go in with an interim coach. In 2021, Ogeron had already been fired, but he was coaching out the season. LSU lost the game 20-14. First downs were equal, 16-16. Total yards in that game, 308 to 295. Turnovers, 2-1. Time possession, 29-31. Okay, this was an even football game. This wasn't a flukish thing. LSU played over their heads that night.
Yeah.
You know how big of an underdog they were? 4 touchdowns.
Ooh.
They were a 28 Remember, Alabama was 7-1. They were ranked number 2 in the country. Yeah. They were almost a 3-time as big underdog in 21 as they are tomorrow.
Yeah.
And they took it to the last play of the game. It's possible. Okay, they just got to go out there and they got to play over there. Look, that team played over their head for 60 minutes. It's possible.
Oh, yeah.
They played 10 times. Alabama's going to win 9, at least 8. Okay, but one time.
You catch a team that, I think it works both ways. Alabama, that year being a 28-point favorite, they're probably a little bit more relaxed. It balances out. Does Alabama look at LSU another week? Or do they look at LSU and like, they got talent?
If you listen to the players, they're saying the right things.
Yeah,
they're not giving any bulletin board material. But they can't help but psychologically, I think, look at them and say, well, this team's fired their coach.
They've watched the film.
Yeah.
I mean, when you watch enough film of somebody that's not doing something.
Yeah, it's not like LSU's played well
in
the last month. We're here at Ruffino's. The restaurant will open at 11 o'clock. Appetizer feature. My man, Chef Patrick. He put the angry shrimp back on the maybe that's appropriate for this week. The angry shrimp is one of my favorite things here. The fried Gulf shrimp with a sweet chili glaze, eggplant Acadiana, the fried eggplant medallions with Louisiana crawfish tails and mushrooms, topped with hollandaise sauce. Man, I could pass the appetizers today. Those are fantastic. Entree features include the braised short ribs with mashed potatoes and the Cajun sirloin. This is the 8-ounce baseball cut sirloins with Louisiana crawfish tails, the etouffee topping, and your dessert feature today, the tiramisu with cocoa powder and Myers soaked lady fingers. That's here at Ruffino's. Come on out and join us here for lunch. Live at Ruffino's, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
It's Lock of the Week Friday, presented by Tex Morris of Edward Jones Investments. Now, back to Live at Lunch from Ruffino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You can always get the show on demand, 1045ESPN.com and LouisianaSports.net, brought to you by Supreme Rice, supporting our Louisiana farmers since the 1930s, and SupremeRice.com. And I want to thank Supreme Rice as well as all the sponsors and all the people that came out to our event last night for Red, White, and Blue at BRQ. We hit our goal. In fact, we exceeded our goal for Brothers and Sisters in Arms last night. We raised well over $30,000 just in the event last night for Brothers and Sisters in Arms, which is a wonderful organization out of Leesville, Louisiana, that takes dogs that have been rescued or donated and pairs them with veterans so that they can become service dogs, and they train both the veteran and the dog to work with each other, and it helps veterans that have PTSD and depression and a variety of other things, and some of their stories are really, really inspiring. And Brothers and Sisters in Arms does this at no cost to the veteran, so it's a terrific organization. They're going to be opening their new facility in Leesville in January. We're looking forward to making a little trip down for that, so thank you to everybody that came out last night. We do it right around Veterans Day every year, and we had just a terrific event last night. And I'm thankful, Richard, for another reason that we had the event last night. It kept me from having to watch the Broncos and the Raiders, which I didn't see a play. Okay, so full disclosure here, but I read about it this morning, and I watched what I guess were the highlights. But this game had more penalties for each team than first downs. Both teams had more penalties than they had first downs. It's the first time that has happened since 1976, and it's only happened twice in modern league history. Ooh. Now, when it happened in 1976, it happened between the Seahawks and the Buccaneers. Now, what did the Seahawks and the Buccaneers have in common in 1976? They were both expansion teams.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It took two expansion teams. And back in 76, expansion teams did not nearly get the advantages now. They weren't gifted all of these extra draft picks, or the expansion draft rules were severely constrained. Your team was going to stink. Yeah. I mean, you had your first year, you had no chance. I mean, things like what happened with the Vegas Golden Knights going all the way to finals in their first year or later. And the NFL learned their mistake. They made it much more lax when Jacksonville and Carolina joined the league in 95, to where those teams actually had a fighting chance. And actually both of them made their respective conference championship games in year two. This is a hard pill to swallow for Saints fans who didn't win a doggone playoff game for 30-some-odd years. But anyway, I'm glad I missed that clunker last night. Let's get back to LSU and what over the last month, Richard. What I see, I was going through box scores and watching a little bit of game this morning back from the last three. What I see is a team that has had some here and there some nice individual performances, but one of the things Kelly harped on before he left here was complementary football. And I just don't see very many places, there's some, but since the Ole Miss game, where they have played with cohesion, where if the quarterback was playing well, the receivers weren't dropping balls, or if the offensive line actually got a push that they call the right play, or if they were stopping the run, you get one coverage buster. Just something always for the last month since the Ole Miss game has seemed to go wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that sums up the season. And when I talked about it on earlier shows this year, when I said with Joe Sloan getting into play calling, like everything seemed clunky. Like he never got hot, never got in a rhythm to where everything was just flowing. And I think that's from the coaches and their play calling. From players, we've seen when they've come out and busted 4 or 5 plays, go on a 13-play, 70-yard drive, and then we get to the goal line, can't finish, got to kick a field goal. And then, you had I'm trying to remember which game, Vanderbilt game maybe, where, we couldn't get a stop all day long. Offense is actually moving the ball, we're scoring. But then at the end of the game, they don't get in the fourth quarter. The defense makes their stops, gets 2 stops in a row, and all of a sudden, we go 2-3 and outs. It's just we haven't played together, unit to unit, or like you said, player to player.
Alex Atkins is going to be calling the plays tomorrow night. He had a successful run, I thought, for most of his time at Florida State. they were a team that ran a lot of counteraction when he was calling plays. I don't know. I haven't seen LSU run very much of that. I'm more inclined in line with you. Is maybe more straight power would just be the easier thing to run.
Get some pulling guards. Get your tight ends, whoever you want. Go get Jack Pyburn. I don't care. Just get some guys who are going to go downhill, put their head on somebody, and just go have fun. Go try to blow some people up.
You mentioned during the break that you think that there will be something for Michael Van Buren to do in this game. Tell me what you're thinking.
I think that you heard Coach Frank. I don't know if it was in his introductory or one of his first meetings talk about that there is a package for him, and there's things he can do. Nussmeier is the quarterback, but they got to have a package for Van Buren. And I think that he just gives you a different option. With his mobility, especially in the red zone where you can get out there and, if you want to run the RPOs or want to run these option routes, you can get Van Buren out on there to where has a chance to scramble or make a pass or, hand it off. But I think that there's things they can do with him in short yardage and red zone to mix it up a little bit and keep the defense on their toes.
I don't want people to get the wrong idea about Van Buren. We're not talking about Lamar Jackson here, okay? He's much more mobile. Yes, he's much more mobile than Garrett Nussmeier, but he is far from a running quarterback. Yeah. He had negative rushing yards at Mississippi State last year in 10 games. Now, that's with the sacks. But even when you take the sacks out, he still only rushed it was under 200 yards. I think it was 175. Yes, he is very much a pass-first quarterback, but your point is well made. There are some things he could – like I haven't seen LSU roll a quarterback – almost ever this year. The RPOs don't have the R to it.
The
okay?
POs.
So if you're expecting Van Buren to go out there and, like I said, look like Lamar Jackson, don't. He's not that kind of player. But he does bring this facet to you that they have been unwilling. And I understand why, okay? It's not like Nussmeier's all that fleet of foot anyway, and he's beat up.
Yeah.
So I don't know that would be the thing to do anyway. But Van Buren gives you that option, and especially where's their biggest problem been? In the red zone.
In the red zone and in the run game. He gives you another option. I think that just having him out there and have a different package and put something on tape that they haven't seen, it gives you that defense way more options to worry about.
There's also the idea when you're talking at the top about some players, they didn't like this or they didn't like that. You get into a situation where players, they get in a doghouse or they're forgotten or whatever. Players that might play tomorrow that really haven't been a part of any of the game plan. You got any ideas on that?
Not really. I thought Caleb Jackson is gone. I don't know if he's there or not.
Not really who I was thinking about. He did mention Teron Francis, who is a freshman receiver, hasn't played much, and he said this on the radio show last night. He said that Jace Thomas, who's a freshman safety, who's played a little bit, and Teron Francis are both going to play a little bit this weekend. Francis is a very highly recruited kid out of New Orleans. I haven't seen where – they've got more experienced receivers that they haven't used. Yeah. Nick Anderson comes immediately to mind. But if Teron Francis, fresh legs, fresh idea, fresh anything.
Trying to keep him happy. I mean, at the end of the year, you're also trying to be like, hey, look, you might have seen this guy's frustrated, seen that he's on the brink of hitting that transfer portal. And Frank knows his ability, his talent, and the future that he could have here. And maybe that you're going to see some of these guys like, hey, Frank said, no, we're going to get you some playing time. You're getting in there.
I think it's a good point because on one hand you could say, well, whatever happens in the next month is not going to maybe matter to the next coach. Okay, so you're going to have to make that decision then. But, man, a month is a long time.
Yeah.
And if you get it in your head, I'm out of here, I'm out of here, I'm out of here, I'm out of here, and when the new coach gets it, wait, we really want you to stay.
I'm gone.
You got your mind made up, okay? So keeping them engaged.
I think that's a lot. Frank knows that, and Frank is, either the recruiting coordinator. I think that anybody who takes this job is dumb not to keep Frank with them, because Frank is a nucleus of recruiting in Louisiana. He's the guy that all the players go talk to, but he's also got the pulse of the team. I think that there's guys that, like I said, he's going to put some guys in there to get some playing time because he knows what the future could be.
I'm going to repeat my refrain every time they change coaches. I want the new coach to hire whoever it is that he wants to hire. If they're on the current staff, that's fine. If they're not on the current staff, that's okay too. If they coach in the NFL, they coach in college, they coached on Neptune. It's got to be the new guys. I don't want anybody else deciding staff for the new coach.
Yeah.
The new coach, if he's bright enough, okay, he'll come in and he'll make the assessment, and he'll live or die with his decisions. I don't want that prescripted for him. Brian Kelly came in here and fired Tommy Moffitt. Turns out that was a mistake.
Let Corey Raymond go.
Okay. Turns out that was a mistake.
Yeah.
They eventually Blake Baker.
Let him
okay.
go.
It turns out he rectified that. But you got to let those guys
do
do it.
And I didn't say that he should or whatever. I'm just saying, in my mind.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I don't even disagree. I hope that the next coach feels the same way. What I don't want, I've seen this happen too many times. It happened with Les, and it happened a little bit with Brian Kelly, where I'm sorry, there were outside influences. You got to keep this guy.
Yeah.
All right? Don't put the new coach under that. Don't bring him in here and say, we want you to do things your way, except, for this. You got to let them do it the way they want to do it. And if they fail, they fail. Brian Kelly on number 6 today, it's a par 4 with a dog leg, is probably going, maybe I should have kept Tommy Moffitt. Maybe I should have kept Frank. Or I should have kept Corey. But that's got to be their decision to do. We're here at Rufino's. We're also brought to you by Louisiana Health and Injury Centers, helping you deal with pain. Dr. Michael Goff and his staff done a great job for our family. When you got those aches and pains, old automobile accidents, an injury flaring up. You have injuries flare up, Rich, from time to time?
I've got one right now.
Things that hurt, they will help you out there. Target those problem areas, get you to feeling better. Whether it's just an exercise and stretching program that'll loosen some things up, or you get into dry needling, electric nerve stimulation, cryotherapy, ultrasound therapy, any of the many techniques that they employ, they're going to get you to feeling better. Airline Highway, Plank Road, Jefferson Highway, near Drusilla. Dr. Michael Goff, Louisiana Health and Injury Centers. We'll take a break. Lock of the Week Friday, presented by Tex Morris at Edward Jones Investments from Rufino's on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
It's Lock of the Week Friday, presented by Tex Morris of Edward Jones Investments. Now, back to Live at Lunch from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
We're also brought to you by the Thibodeau store and the Pierreport store and the LaRose store and the Lockport store, as they have expanded their operation with 2 new venues here this fall. If you're looking for, right now on the website, thethibodeaustore.com, here's some of the specials that they've got. They've got their Black Friday sales already up, and over 100 different outdoor heating options. If you're looking for that as a winter rapidly approaches, you can pick up those things. If you're looking for, things like extension cords and sawhorses, all these different hardware items that you can get on special right now. Of course, your specialty items like cypress furniture, crawfish pots, jambalaya pots, those things that you can gift out at Christmas. You can pick those up at the Thibodeau store. The Pierreport store, pretty much anything you want. As Jimmy's told you many times about the outdoor cooking equipment that they have there. If you're going down to the Thibodeau store, you're going down fishing equipment available too. Online, thethibodeaustore.com. A lot of these things are available for delivery, but also same-day pickup is available. And again, online, thethibodeaustore.com. 900 St. Patrick Highway in Thibodeau and Highway 70 in Pierreport.
I love that place.
Yeah.
I was there last Saturday.
Were you?
I was down in the Pierreport store.
Yeah?
I go down. My camp's about 20 minutes from the Pierreport store, and if I need something, that's where I'm going.
Max is like honorary staff down there.
Oh, yeah.
He's like,
that's my place. I'm surprised I didn't run into you.
I was there Saturday walking around. We were going to get some stuff to fry some fish and hang out, and then I end up just looking around the store for an hour.
You get lost in there.
Get lost.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy. Rich, let's talk a little bit about what LSU looks like defensively. I'm assuming that they're going to be without Whit Weeks. They're talking. What have you seen without him over the last couple of games?
I've seen that the run defense has struggled. And I don't know if it's all on him. He brings a lot of energy, brings a lot of excitement. I think that, he brings confidence to the guys out there. But, the last couple games, I just felt like the defense has lacked some confidence.
This is what I see. With Weeks or without him, I think that this defense has done very well when they've played bad offenses and very bad when they've played good offenses. I'm sorry, that's what I see. Did they play good enough at Ole Miss? Did they get enough stops? Yeah, but they also couldn't get off the field in the second half when you needed them to. Same thing at Vanderbilt. And then A&M kind of toyed with them. They pretty much quit in the second half there. This Alabama offense is a good offense. Their quarterback is operating at a very high efficiency rate right now. He could win the Heisman. Max, help me out here. The top three for the Heisman have separated themselves, right? It's Ty Simpson, Fernando Mendoza, and Julian Sayin. Simpson could win it. They're fairly close in the odds.
Where were those three at the start of the year? I'd just be curious.
Mendoza was somewhere in the 40-1 range.
Was he that low, really?
I want to say Simpson was a little higher just because he was an Alabama quarterback, and they get that respect.
Bias is the word you were looking for.
Well, it worked out. I mean, he's up there in the top three. Who am I blanking on now?
Sayin?
Julian Sayin.
The other
Sayin was up there as well.
Mendoza.
Ohio State quarterback always gets some respect, too. So Indiana just got a little less respect because of the team that they are. That's all.
Sayin was committed to Alabama. He didn't ever sign with Alabama?
Correct.
Okay.
Nick Saban had recruited him.
Yeah, he made the joke about keeping him on the scout team and all that. He was going to be there in the spring, I think, of that year. Anyway, so he's out 20 touchdowns and 1 interception against the Southeastern Conference schedule. I'm sorry, that's Heisman-esque numbers through 2/3 of the season.
Charlie, one of the reasons I think this is a decent matchup is this is a pass-heavy team. This is a team that wants to pass first and run second. I know they've got Bam Miller, and he's a catchy name or whatever, but if you look at specifically, this is a stat I looked at, power success, which looks at when you're running the ball and you have 2 yards or less to go. So it's an obvious sort of run situation. You got to bow your neck and just who's the bigger team. In power success, Alabama's third worst in the SEC. When they're unapologetically running the ball, they have not had success. LSU's defense is really weak here. They're second worst 80% of the time. When you line up in a 2 yards or less situation, they're getting the first down. So LSU struggled there, but Alabama's not going to really be able to match up very well. And we know LSU's very good outside corners, the one-on-one, man-to-man coverage. So I think if you look at Ty Simpson in this offense, it's kind of a good matchup for what LSU's weaknesses have been lately.
Jam Miller's a decent back. He is not Josh Jacobs. He is not Derrick Henry. He is not Trent Richardson. Some of the great backs they've had
Mark
come
Ingram,
through
let's go down the list.
There's too many of them. He had a big game against Vandy. He has not played particularly. He has not made a big impact since his average yards per carry in the 3 games since Vandy at Missouri, Tennessee, and South Carolina is well under 4 yards a carry, and he's got 108 yards, I think, total in those 3 games. So he's not really been a factor in the last 3 games. No, I agree with you. This is Simpson. Now, LSU's strength in the secondary. They've got really good players back there. Rich, they produce no pass rush.
No.
And that's something that you can blitz, I guess. But
it's – that's the one that I didn't see coming because when you went out there and, I don't know, losing – the guys we had, I thought were going to be really well. The guys last year, we got a little bit. I think we started off the season. What did we get, like 4, 5, 6 sacks in the Clemson game and got all excited, and then it kind of disappeared. But even when we blitz, it's like we don't get there. We get a lot of hurries, but we don't get a lot of sacks. It's just – I don't know. That's the most frustrating thing to me because I felt like that's what I know that's what Blake Baker wants to do, and why we're not getting there is just – a bigger issue. Well,
if Simpson gets, I'm going to use the word comfortable, it's going to be a long night for LSU. He's been excellent even when he has been pressured in some of the games that we've seen since the opener. Okay, give him the opener against Florida State, but other than that, he's been really, really good, and he doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He doesn't. If if there's incompletions, it's because guys are covered, or he doesn't get sacked a lot, but he'll take a sack rather than putting the ball in harm's way. But LSU doesn't get a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
They've got to find some way to make him uncomfortable, whatever that is.
Bama quarterbacks always get a lot of credit. This is a pro-style offense that Ryan Grubb runs for Alabama. This is different. This is unique. They're doing a lot of pro-type concepts.
Which is why you think Ty Simpson's got real draft upward mobility.
Absolutely.
Here.
There's a mock draft most recently that has the Saints taking him number 1 overall. Like, this is a pro-level prospect that Alabama has, and I know Alabama quarterbacks haven't always panned out at the next level, but this is a different offense that they're running compared to what a lot of these teams are doing in the RPO game and an offensive sort of a college-level offense.
Yeah. I don't doubt the kid's talent. 8 starts, though, if we're talking draft here.
Sure.
For a second, makes it'll be 12, 14, 16, whatever, depending on how far they go at the end of the season, but that would make me a little bit nervous. All right, that's the game. Let's talk coaches for a second. Right. You had, now that we've got the athletic directors.
Max, what are the odds? What's the top 5 odds for coaches right now? This what
this refresh
cracks me up. Like, where are they hearing things? Like setting these odds.
This is the most inaccurate thing that they do.
Yeah. Okay.
Vegas isn't wrong often, but this is the one that's probably the most volatile.
Well, I remember when we picked Brian Kelly. He wasn't even on the odds. Like he wasn't listed last time they had the top 5 or top 10 odds to be the next coach.
Joe Brady still leads the way, but there's been some shuffling here. John Summerall's fallen to tied for 5th. Lane Kiffin 2nd. Nick Saban 3rd, probably just because of the rumor mill. I don't think that's happening. Clark Lee is now 4th choice at 5-1. And then Summerall, James Franklin, Dan Lanning in a 3-way tie for 5th.
All right, let's go through these again.
Joe Brady's the one I feel the most ick about. I don't know why. That one doesn't make me feel good.
I don't think you're going to have to worry about it. He was fairly transparent when he was here. He did not want to. He was not fond of recruiting. The jobs are so different between the NFL and college football. Your college football head coach, you got to be a fundraiser. You got to be a player agent. You got to be. So many different hats that you got to wear. Right. There's no break. There's no off season.
The NFL coaches I knew, like, they had apartments half the time where we played, and they had homes somewhere else. And that's because they spent the off season with their family and their kids, and they didn't have to be recruiting and watching guys work out and making sure you're there and doing tours of facilities. The NFL is a better job as far as you actually have an off season.
Here's what I know about Joe Brady. Okay. He's an exceptionally bright young mind. And when you put him with a good quarterback, he can call plays.
Yeah.
You put him with a bad quarterback, he's not a miracle worker. I don't know that he's the next Bill Walsh. I mean, give him Josh Allen, looks real good. Give him Joe Burrow, looks great. Give him the Carolina Panthers, disaster. So I think he's – I don't know if he can build a roster. I don't know if he can raise money. And more than any of that, I know he doesn't want to, unless he's changed his mind since he left here. I think he'll probably be an NFL coach. If the Bills win the Super Bowl this year, which could happen, it might even be next year. But I don't see that. Dan Lanning has made it very clear that he's not interested in moving from Oregon. And even if he was, I mean, what kind of offer would that take? We've talked about Saban enough. So let's talk about who is the next –
Kiffin.
So Kiffin, I don't think is out of this by any stretch. The things that we've talked about that are in play with the playoffs and the timing of it, I think can be overcome if all the parties really want it, okay? No. I think if there's some meeting somewhere between Verge Ausberry, Ben Bartolon, and Jimmy Sexton that says, look, the day after they're done, I give you, I promise you he's coming. You have some kind of assurance. And
I'm about to say a promise isn't going to help.
No, you can't trust him.
There's something signed.
You got to have. Yes,
we're going to keep secret.
Absolutely right. This is the job Lane really wants, but he's going to play this out. You wait for him. You leave Austin. Austin Thomas is key here because he worked for Kiffin before.
Kelvin Bolden, Austin's assistant, worked for Kiffin.
They did. So at least they would have an idea, and all those people can keep a secret. You would have some control over personnel, even if he was still coaching Ole Miss. I mean, he could take some time and talk about hey, this is where we want to go. You guys try to hold the fort down until I get there. I could work the timing out. I can work some of the other things out. The money, though, is going to be interesting. I don't think money's a problem for LSU as long as the governor, stays being governor and doesn't try to come be player agent here. I think Lane Kiffin's going to be the highest paid coach in college football next year, no matter where he is. Jimmy Sexton right now is holding what I call the greatest silent auction in the history of college football. He's got these schools bidding against each other, and I don't know if LSU wants to get into an auction situation. But if they do, I don't think that's dead. I don't think it's the most likely thing to happen, but I don't think it's dead.
No, it's not dead because everybody knows the extension's been on the table at Ole Miss for a while.
It has. Jeff Brom's a lot cleaner. It's a lot easier. Yeah. He could be coaching for a team that gets left out of the playoffs with an 11-1 record. That could happen. Okay. And if you're Jeff Brom, you're like, man, I love coaching at my alma mater, but, man, I went 11-1. I lost one game by 3 points. I had a victory over what was then the number 2 team in the country on the road, and I can't get in the playoffs? Man, if I want to win a championship, I can't do it here. Yeah. I love you guys, but I can't do much better than that. And I'm 11-1 in the ACC, and I can't get that could happen. Yeah. All right? I can't get to the playoff. I can't get in the top 12. I'm gonna have to move.
Definitely
on.
A lot cleaner.
We are here at Ruffino's. Come on by and see us here. Black Friday specials are coming here the day after Thanksgiving. $100 will get you a $50 bonus gift card that you can use between January the 2nd and the end of March. It'll also be available online at Ruffinos.com all the way through Black Friday weekend. Live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
It's Lock of the Week Friday, presented by Tex Morris of Edward Jones Investments. Now, back to Live at Lunch from Ruffino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, you got to come to work tomorrow. Gordy's out of town, so you got to be there. Last thoughts before we let you go. We're going to talk to you on pregame tomorrow too, but last thoughts today on this game.
Have no expectations. Go have some drinks.
I got that covered.
I got that covered. Just go. I mean, I will watch this game more relaxed than any other game I've watched.
Why?
Because to me, I'm not saying the season's over, but there's nothing right now. I'm just looking for something new. Looking for effort. Watch the guys play. If they go out there and I see a lot of effort and everybody just busting their butts, I'm going to enjoy watching it. If they come out there and a few things go wrong and they all lay down, I'm going to turn the TV off. That's how I feel.
Here's my hope and my expectation of why I don't think that they will do that. Two things. First of all, they had to sit through the second half film of the Texas A&M. Yes. And it is very clear to see. Jake and Matt in the morning have done plenty of film. We did the film work. It's on ours. It's on their film work. They quit. Yeah. Okay. They just flat out quit. That's got to jar some pride. And the second thing is, don't they know if they go over there and they don't give it everything they got, that Alabama will mop the floor with them? If they give that kind of effort, they'll get crushed.
You got to have the Brandon Taylor attitude. What he said the other night on T-Bob's show, he said that, look, I don't care, our season's over, but I'm gonna look at the next 4 guys. I'm gonna make sure I try to ruin theirs too.
Yeah. Embarrassed is what they don't want to be. Rich, thank you. We'll see you on pregame tomorrow. We're back with hour number 2, live at lunch from Ruffino's, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
It's Lock of the Week Friday, presented by Tex Morris of Edward Jones Investments. Now, back to Live at Lunch from Ruffino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Lock of the Week Friday, presented by Tex Morris at Edward Jones Investments, rolls on here from Ruffino's. Restaurant has just opened up. Appetizer features today the Angry Shrimp, one of my favorites, the Eggplant Acadiana, Louisiana crawfish tails on top of those eggplant medallions, the braised short ribs today with mashed potatoes, one of your entree features, along with the Cajun sirloin. That's the 8-ounce baseball cut sirloin with Louisiana crawfish tails on the top, and the tiramisu with the Myers soaked ladyfingers are your specials here today at Ruffino's. All right. Somewhere in the state of Alabama, Jimmy Ott is on his way, or maybe has even arrived yet in Tuscaloosa. Jimmy, good morning.
Good morning, Charlie. I'm about 35 minutes out, so yeah, got a good start this morning after a great meal at Mary Mahoney's last night down in Biloxi. So get to spend some time with my boy Bob and pulling the Raiders in a beautiful game last night in Denver.
Beautiful game if you had the Raiders in the points, but I don't know if you heard the stat that we gave out in the first time since the 76 Buccaneers Seahawks games that both teams had more penalties than first downs in the same game.
Yeah, I heard that. I heard that. So Weatherman Max, we could talk about this too. Is there's bad weather and then there's windy conditions. And so it was ugly divisional games, which tend to be tougher to score than most. And look, man, the New Orleans connection, Sean Payton and band shows up. They said 89's not beating us. Bowers, he got one reception for 31 yards, and that was it. They just doubled him. I mean, you don't really give extra attention to a tight end often. They were. And then the other thing is obviously with Knicks. So, that's just tough to watch between Peyton and Knicks, and I don't know who to place more blame on. I've never been convinced that Knicks is a guy, but then when he's just kind of improvisational, scrambling, hurry up, the more he has to think, the less comfortable he is, and that's not a Sean Payton type of quarterback. So. That's an awkward thing. And then when you look at it, and they got the best record in the league. As of today, they have the best record in the NFL. So it's an interesting thing. And also they're an under team again. So he's been very conservative with Knicks as well.
One of the things that, and I didn't see the game last night. We had our fundraiser last night that went great, so I didn't get to see any of this game. But one thing I know about Sean Payton, and he said this many times, his offenses were at their best in New Orleans when they had a balance, when they were running the football well. And this Denver team has mostly run the football pretty well this year. They're the 7th highest rushing team in the league, so that's in the top, well within the top quadrant. Didn't seem like they ran the ball very well last night, though.
Oh, well, the critics, they ran it better than they threw it. And that's the thing. I mean, the quarterback's best friend is a running game, and he has that. It's another criticism of Bo Nix. And, we had that conversation earlier this week, and say what you want, and Randy McKay had Jacoby Brissett, kind of in the 20s. There's no comparison in the passing numbers, just the passing numbers. No comparison between a guy like Jacoby Brissett, journeyman, lifelong journeyman, and Bo Nix. And this is year 2. So he's a little bit of an anchor right now for this Denver team that seems to have all the other pieces.
The other side I want to ask you about, quarterbacks when they hit 35, you start waiting for the drop-off. And for some of them it comes later. Tom Brady's a unicorn, so don't talk with him. I'm thinking about guys like Kirk Cousins, who it just seemed like his game, and a lot of times these are with injuries with older quarterbacks, his game just fell off the cliff. It seems like Geno Smith's game has fallen off the cliff here, and he's at that age now at 35 where you start looking, okay, does he still have, like Matthew Stafford still has it. In fact, he's playing at a higher level now at age 37, even with the injuries. But for some of those guys, and Cousins comes immediately to mind, Peyton Manning's game, okay, his body just, gave out on him. The arm wasn't there anymore at the end. It seems like Geno's game has fallen off the cliff.
Yeah, you say that, but they have no running game, and it's a tough situation. I mean, it's not like Gentry's not a good back. He just has nowhere to go. And then they're up 7-0, and he hits Gentry on a little dump-off, and he just drops it and bobbles it up for a tipped interception. So bad teams can't overcome that. And he did get hurt. And give Geno credit, he's trying to play through pain, but I don't know how much he was helping them. And I think a cold Cody Pickett off the bench would have probably given them more of a chance than an injured. You said it yourself, age and injuries. And so that, and then you throw into, look, man, supporting cast. So whatever, they're all ingredients in that quarterback gumbo, but it's age, it's injuries, and it's supporting cast. It's a much easier thing when you can hand the ball off, and then pick your spot when you want to play action pass. And damn it, Denver has it. The biggest criticism I've heard today, sports gamblers or analysts this morning on a drive, is that Peyton just won't hand the ball off enough. And they did at the end, and they ran the clock out. Even, when the Raiders know they have to run. So, I know Peyton, and he would admit that, and we know about Sean Payton, extremely impulsive. He's still a pretty good coach to get this roster this soon. And remember the mess he took over where they had to eat all of that Russell Wilson deal, okay? I mean, they had the best record in the NFL. And so we can certainly pick apart different pieces and deservedly so. But in the end, he still got his team. Now, is that just sheer luck? I mean, is that where he's forced to let Bo Nix just do Bo Nix kind of improvisate off script type of stuff where he seems to flourish more? I don't know, but it's the whole thing in Leah. Oh, it's just that Drew Brees, completely different coachable quarterback than Bo Nix. Okay, so you can see the awkwardness between coach and quarterback.
Yeah, and he also has something that he never. I don't think he ever had a defense this good in New Orleans. Even the Super Bowl team, which kind of was that was a defense that feasted on turnovers. He never had a defense this good, so he's got that to fall back on.
I got to ask Max if he heard the broadcast. They were booing last night, Max? Were they booing Nick? It couldn't be booing a team.
Max has had to step out for a meeting, so he's not with us this segment. So I'll ask him later on in the broadcast.
They were booing, and I'm like, wait a minute, they're tied for the best record in the league right now. Wait, what? I mean, what? I mean, so maybe it's on Nick. Maybe he's, because if you pay close enough attention to Denver for the big sample size and look at the passing numbers, he is near the bottom of the league, Charlie. And they still have the best record, in the league. It's crazy.
All right. We only got you for one segment, so let's get to your college football picks for this weekend, your 5-pack.
All right. Let me pull them up. Let's start off with the game day at Lubbock, top 10 matchup, Texas Tech and BYU. Texas Tech split their two tough road games at Utah and at Arizona State. We know about how this team, and most importantly, what's the great teams in the SEC, how they were built first. It was a great defensive front, and that's where the bulk of their payroll is gone, and that's where it starts. This is, once upon a time, Charlie, we wouldn't give credit when you pile up yardage against Texas Tech. That's over. And so stopping the run and running the football, they can do it. They lost their freshman quarterback. They went back to their senior, so they have to be a little bit more careful with his injury. But listen, BYU struggled at Boulder against Colorado, lucky to get out of there alive. Struggled at Tucson, lucky to get out of there with the win. This is a much taller task. So, big number, I get it, but I'm laying it at home. And the most anticipated game in Lubbock in how long? Maybe that top 5 game, that top 10 matchup against Texas years ago.
Michael Crabtree.
So.
Michael Crabtree.
Yeah.
The Michael Crabtree game.
Yeah. No doubt. All right, Oregon went to Penn State and barely got out of there alive, and Penn State really didn't play that well. Iowa's better than Penn State. Iowa City's a tough place to play. Charlie, remember when you said that contract was bad? How things have changed, huh? Who's got more out of the school than their contract with the coach? They actually pay their coach to coach. They've got a long run with Kirk Ferentz. So, and this also, the snaps per game, they shortened the game. It's built for a low-scoring game. A touchdown on the road, man. Upset alert here. Money line alert. Give me Iowa at home in a real spot to win it outright against the visiting Oregon Ducks. Chapel Bill, baby. The biggest joke, the biggest punchline in college football for first half of the season was in North Carolina. The most improved team in college football this year is North Carolina. They've outgained and out first down their opponents the last 3 games. They dropped the games of Virginia and Cal. They fumbled going into the end zone. First play from scrimmage against Cal, turnover. Cal turns it into a touchdown, and they're still right close. They decided to go for 2 in overtime against Virginia and came up inches short, or they would have beaten Virginia and knocked them from the top 12 ranking right now. And they are out-rushing. They're stopping the run and running the football. They're out-rushing their opponents by over 75 yards per game in this 3-game stretch. The only thing, and they gave up another defensive score against Syracuse. This is a really improved team. You know, we don't have to give Bill Belichick a whole lot of credit, but first-year coaches on how their teams improve over the course of the year, as far as that's concerned, nobody's improved more than North Carolina, laying the points against Stanford at home. Texas A&M and Missouri. Texas A&M, 2 teams coming off a bye. One team has been told how great they are and coming in taking over Tiger Stadium. We know about A&M. The other team's trying to scratch their head and figure out, how did we lose this game where we had the ball twice as much as Vanderbilt, gained as many yards as Vanderbilt, lost their starting quarterback in the middle of the game, and still came up a foot short at the end from sending it into overtime. Everybody talks about losing Pribula. Yes, okay, starting quarterback. But Zollers is heavily recruited. He's got way better arm talent. He's more of a passer. And thrown into that game at Nashville, he didn't look overly out of sorts. He handled it pretty well. This might actually be an upgrade at quarterback, certainly in the passing game. I like Missouri +7 at home against Texas A&M. And also a little element there, A&M has a game to play with. Well, they exhale a little bit with that cushion, possibly so, as they go into Missouri. And Clemson, yes, we know about Clemson. Boy, did we overrate them. Who didn't overrate them? And that forced us to overrate LSU's win against Clemson as well. But Clemson in Cade Klubnik, who's had a rough year, by far his best game last week against Duke. He threw for 385 yards. That's a season high. His yards per attempt were 10.7. He had 2 touchdowns and no interceptions. It's just the second time all season that he won an entire game without a turnover. And Dabo, yeah, he had a tough call as well. Now they're at home against Florida State. This team hasn't quit just yet. Taking Clemson at home in a very soft number, -2.5 at home.
Let me flip back to that Iowa State game, the Iowa-Oregon game. Moneyline sprinkle here, Jim. The Iowa Hawkeyes are 5-1 at home against top 10 teams under Kirk Ferentz in November. 2008, Penn State went in there undefeated and lost by a point. 2016, Michigan went in there undefeated, 9-0, ranked number 2 in the country, lost on the last play of the game by a point. And the following year, in 2017, Ohio State went in undefeated, ranked number 3 in the country, and got beat by 31. I know you remember that game, one of the more shocking upsets by that margin. And so under Ferentz, you go to Iowa City in November. The Hawkeyes are a tough out, even against top-flight competition. So you're getting a little bit over plus $2 on the money line. Might be worth a look.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Charlie. And they shorten the game. They frustrate you. And how about this? If Will Ferentz was there, he would still. They're averaging over his ultimatum. What was it, like 26 points a game, 24 points a game? He had that average.
Yeah, right.
That season. One of the craziest, kind of clauses of a contract you'll ever see. They're over that now. They're in the high 20s. They have a little pop with their offense, but man, they're going to run the ball. They're going to stop the run. It's just so steady. Who's been more consistent? They never get over the hump, but they never win less than 7 or 8 games. It's just been the model of consistency. And where Wisconsin actually had that going for them. Well, okay, we want to modernize our offense to try and get us over the hump. How'd that work out? Ferentz and I would just stay in their lane, and they max out their recruiting, their budget, and everything else. And they're a hard out, man, in that place. That's a tough place. And, how many times has Oregon made trips to Iowa City? Probably 0. So, another reason, that's a tough place to play, and just a solid. In the year-to-year volatile world of college football, God, dog, they are consistent. They're a consistent program.
Let me give you one more thing. It's going to be a balmy 42 in Iowa City tomorrow afternoon, but 65% chance of rain during the game. So do with that what you will. Probably not going to be pleasant conditions, even if it's not below freezing there in Iowa City.
Charlie, Indiana has destroyed everybody. Indiana, they're not outscoring their opponents by 31 points a game. They're covering the spread by an average of 31 points a game. And, man, they were on the ropes against Iowa in that trip. Fernando had to make that 50-yard touchdown pass at the end. I think it was on 3rd and 10 as well in a tie game. So Iowa's really they're a tough out, man. I think they're going to win the game outright.
Give Ethan my best, and I hope his team loses. I hope you guys have a good time.
So do I. So do I, baby. I'd love to run my mouth after an LSU win. So, and look, trying to figure it out. The interim boost, we talked about it. Man, that first time, not winning a lot, but covering a lot. And I kind of feel the same way. Look, LSU, Frank is more connected with the team, with the players. They're going to play hard. The 4-letter word, the Q word, quit, is not happening tomorrow. But still got offensive line issues. Still got a block, and that's going to be tough. I don't care who's playing quarterback, who's calling plays. So that might limit you. But an effort, I expect a big effort from LSU tomorrow night.
All right, safe travels. We'll talk to you tomorrow for pregame and also on Football Sunday from Caesars in New Orleans on Sunday morning.
All right, Charlie. See you.
All right, thanks a lot. Jimmy Ott on his way to Tuscaloosa. We'll take a break. We'll check in with our friend Chris Massaro when we return. Lock of the Week Friday, presented by Tex Morris at Edward Jones Investments from Rufino's on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
It's Lock of the Week Friday, presented by Tex Morris of Edward Jones Investments. Now, back to Live at Lunch from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
And we return here at Rufino's. Come by and see us for lunch. On the menu today, Chef Patrick's got the angry shrimp, the eggplant Acadiana, the braised short ribs, and the Cajun sirloin tiramisu for dessert here at Rufino's. Again, our Black Friday deals coming up the day after Thanksgiving. For your $100 gift card, you'll get a $50 bonus that you can use between January and the end of March. And those deals are also available all weekend long on the holiday weekend at Rufinos.com. All right, let's go out to San Diego and check in with our friend Chris Massaro. Chris, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great, Charlie. I'm a little nervous, though. I caught the end of Jimmy's segment there, and he likes a lot of games that I like, so that's raising a lot of red flags.
Well, before we get into your picks, I asked a question earlier this week, and he just asked me to repeat it to you. I said, we were talking about the trade deadline. I said, I was surprised that the Patriots didn't make a move. Were you? And he said, ask Massaro on Friday if he was surprised.
Well, I'm gonna say that a lot of people who've been around a long enough time know that Bob Kraft, for all the good he's done as a Patriots owner, is one of the cheapest, if not the cheapest owner in the NFL. They have $50.6 million under the salary cap. They have a plethora of 6th round and 7th round picks. And if you just look around the league, I get it. You don't want to blow your draft picks. You're trying to do a rebuild. You're kind of going a little bit a year early. But, do you find the girl that you like across the bar and say, oh, maybe the next time I go to the bar, I'll say hi to her? You have a chance right now in a weak AFC to add something to the team. They obviously need a pass rusher. They could use another wide receiver. They could use a running back. And I just got a little frustrated looking at some of the moves some of these other teams made, and they only gave up, 5th round pick, 6th round pick. So you just wonder why they didn't pull the trigger on some of these deals.
I'm from Louisiana. I root for the Saints. I have no idea what under the salary cap means. That's a completely foreign concept over here. I got no idea what that feels like. Maybe one day. All right, let's get to the college football weekend. Tell me where you agree with Mr. Ott and where you may have gone in a different direction.
Well, you know what? I was looking at the Iowa game as he was mentioning, and it just seems like Iowa plays really well at home. They're up for these big games, and if you take a look at Oregon, yeah, the resume looks kind of strong, but if you dig a little deeper, it's actually kind of weak. They beat Oklahoma State, Oregon State, Northwestern, Rutgers, Wisconsin. Other win against Montana State. Beat big Penn State, but big deal. You know, I mean, Penn State's obviously not what we thought they were when they beat them, and they barely beat them. So if you look at those games, Okie State's ranked 135 in points, 128 yards per play. Northwestern solid D, but they didn't cover that game. Whiskey solid D didn't cover that game, and then they blew out Oregon State, Rutgers with terrible defenses. So I'm just not sure how good Oregon is, and I think when you go into Iowa, that crowd giving them points. I'm going to take the 6.5 or whatever you can get, 7 points with Iowa. And I'm also going to go under because if you look at Iowa, they run the ball 58% of the time, 21st in the country, 4.7 yards a carry on the ground, 36. So that's a really decent offensive ground game. And their short passes are just an astounding stat. They complete 65% of their passes, but only for 5.9 yards a pass, which is 128th in the country. So they're just dinking and dunking, moving the ball 4 yards here, 5 yards there, ball control type of game. And like Jimmy mentioned, 42 degrees with rain, 60-mile-an-hour winds. I think this Iowa defense, Oregon defense is playing well as well. I just think this is going to be a real slog type of game. I'm going to take the points, and I'm going to go under 41, 41.5, 42, whatever you can get. I like Iowa and under this game. And I do think there's a chance Iowa could win outright. And if you like a little future, I think Oregon not to make the playoffs has a decent chance, maybe plus 200 there. At a tough schedule, got to go to Washington and host USC after this Iowa game.
You're on Max's page now because he did a 1,600-word dissertation yesterday on how Washington was going to make the playoff instead of Oregon, right?
Yeah, I was going to ask you this, Chris. Based on that, I agree. Oregon's got a tough schedule left, and the Big Ten's probably going to get at least 3 teams in, if not 4, if Oregon still gets in regardless. But Iowa with a tiebreaker, perhaps 10-2 over Oregon. Washington, at this point, has 2 losses. They have an even easier remaining schedule than Iowa, and they, in a similar boat, get Oregon at home. They'll be catching probably 6.5 at home. So my guess, you're going about it the way of Oregon to miss the playoff. My question was going to be, would you rather, to make the playoff, would you rather Iowa or Washington at about 10-1?
I would probably go Iowa. They've been more consistent this year. Defense has been stronger. Washington, sometimes they look great, sometimes they don't. But what I would say is that if Oregon loses 2 games, one of their 2 losses is going to be either to Iowa, Washington, or USC, which pretty much blocks them from making the playoff. So I think at plus 2-1, you have 3 shots to get them not to make the playoff. So I think it's a great bet. I think they might lose 2 out of the 3. Maybe they run the table. I just don't see it. I just don't think they're as good as people, thought in the beginning of the year. Some of their just offensive stats are I think they're kind of skewed based on the opponents they played. The defense has been better than expected. I will give you that, but I'm not sure how good the offense is.
If Iowa pulls the upset tomorrow, they finish out at USC, against Michigan State, and at Nebraska. So it's doable if they can get by the Ducks tomorrow. All right, Chris, your next pick.
I'm going to go with under in Kentucky and Florida. Florida runs a very slow offense, 113th in seconds per play, and as we've all seen all year, their offense has been just terrible against the pass. Terrible throwing the ball. They're only averaging 17.4 points per game, which is 123rd in the country. Only 3-point yards of rush, 89th. Only 6.8 yards of pass, 88th. And Kentucky, they have their own offensive issues as well. But they're really strong against the run. And, the one thing they do have a weakness is against the pass. But you have DJ Lagway, who just can't, he's just the most inaccurate passer. Last week was only 15 for 24 for 166 yards in the lucky cover versus Georgia. They were the right side, but was lucky as, we saw Gunnar Stockton take the knee at the 1-yard line. I just think, Kentucky's offense is kind of offensive too. 91st in points per game, 103rd in yards per play, 90th in yards per rush, 92nd in yards per pass. So 2 of the worst offenses in the SEC versus some solid defenses, especially against the run. I think this is a low-scoring game. This is actually one of those games where it's going to just be 17-13 or something crazy happens and they both score 30 points. But I'm banking on an under in this game. Both of these teams struggle to score, and they both got decent defenses. Kentucky, their last 4 losses, 23 points against Ole Miss, 13 versus South Carolina, 14 versus Georgia, 13 versus Texas. So they finally got the win for Stoops last week, first SEC win in a while. So I just don't see many points in this game.
Even got a coach fired last week, so we'll see what happens up in Kentucky. Also, one of those screwy little November trips at times. All right, next.
2 more. I got let's go over in Notre Dame Navy. 55.5, 56. Notre Dame off a weak offensive effort last week versus BC. So I think Marcus Freeman will get this offense running. Last year, Notre Dame with a lesser offense than they have this year, blew out both of the service academies, 51-14 against Navy, 49-14 against Army, 65 and 63 points. I think this offense is going to put up a lot of points versus Navy. And if you remember, Navy, when they played Air Force, they weren't afraid to throw the ball, and with Notre Dame having such a good run defense, I think they're going to put the ball in the air a little bit. I think Blake Horvath will do that. And, if they can get the 17 points, you only have to get 40 points from Notre Dame. I think 6 touchdowns from Notre Dame is definitely doable, and I think Navy will score a little bit against this Notre Dame defense, who's had a little bit of trouble in the back end. I know they're good against the run, but I expect Navy to throw the ball a little bit more than usual, and we can get over this total.
Our partner here at the Queen has this DraftKings over 55.5 is our number for that game. And what's your final pick?
Final pick was a tough one. It was between maybe Texas Tech or Bama or UConn in a sandwich spot, but I'm going to go to the last game on the card with Hawaii. You have San Diego State coming off some nice wins, but if you look at their schedule, they beat Stony Brook, Cal, Northern Illinois 6-3, Colorado State, Nevada, Fresno, Wyoming. In their last 4 games, they faced Colorado State 97th in passing attack, Nevada 126, Fresno 116, Wyoming 111th. Hawaii can sling the ball around. They're not great for yards per pass, only 81st, but they throw for 315 yards passing, 8th in the country. I think they're going to have a lot of wrinkles for the San Diego State team that hasn't faced much lately, and with a big game versus Boise on deck, I'm betting that San Diego State's looking ahead. Let's take Hawaii plus a 6.5 or 7 as my final play.
6.5 is what we got here at the Queen. So Iowa plus 6.5. Iowa under with Oregon under 42.5, and Florida and Kentucky under 46 and
45 and
45 and a half.
Just
now
moved down actually to 44.5, but we'll put you for 45. We'll give you the credit. You moved the line, Massaro.
They're listening to my take here.
Notre Dame and Navy over 55.5, and the Hawaii plus 6.5 to round it out. All right, Chris, we appreciate you. Got any NFL game that has caught your attention before we let you?
Well, I'll tell you, the game last night was just a disgrace, and they really got to get rid of these Thursday night games. I mean, the teams coming in on 3 days rest. It's just not fair to the players. And last night was brutal. I like a bunch of dogs this week. I think that Berlin game, I think that's where it's being played. I think the Falcons are worth a shot. I think they're a shot in the money line. I think this Colts team is a little bit flawed. I think Pittsburgh exposed a lot of that last week, and I think the Falcons have a good chance to maybe pull the upset.
That is in Berlin. That is an 8:30 our time start, Central Time start, Falcons and the Colts. Chris, we appreciate it. If you have a little bit of extra time, pull for LSU. Pull for Jimmy. He needs a little help over there in Tuscaloosa. And we'll look forward to talking to you.
Thanks a lot.
We'll talk to you on Football Sunday. We are here at Ruffino's, and we're brought to you by Coastal Capital Advisors. Look, your retirement is so very important, but no two situations are exactly alike. Where you are at this stage of your life, your income level, your age, all of those things factor in. Phil Fontenot and his staff have done a great job for our family, making those future plans, working with you on that lifetime relationship to make sure that you have the peace of mind that you're moving forward. The financial situation will be secured. They'll help you out. They'll talk to you, get to know you, find out what your situation is, and they'll advise you properly. Coastal Capital Advisors, coastalcapitaladv.com is the website. Give them a call. Check in with Phil. I don't know you heard about it here on Live at Lunch, and have a talk, have a consultation. Move yourself forward in the right direction for retirement. CoastalCapitalADV.com. Advisory services provided by New Age Advisors, member FINRA, SIPC. We'll check in with Troy Macker when we come back here, see where the odds have been moving. Live at Rufino's Lock of the Week, Friday. Tex Morris, Edward Jones Investments on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
By Tex Morris of Edward Jones Investments. Now, back to Live at Lunch from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Jimmy, Charlie, and Troy. Three best buddies sitting around talking sports bets. Let's welcome in Troy Macker from Bet Rivers.
And we return here at Rufino's on Highland Road. Troy, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on again.
All right, let's start with the LSU game because Max tells me here just in the last few minutes we've seen a line move here locally from 9.5 to 10.5 Alabama. Wondering if you're seeing some of the same movement on your end.
Yeah, absolutely. Alabama is heavily back on the spread. It's just outside the top 5 in terms of most wagered on plays of this weekend. I believe it's in and around the 70% of the money is on Alabama to cover. Alabama to win outright is the third most popular ticket we've taken. It's about 4% of all of Saturday's ticket volume on college football is on Alabama to win outright. So I think, just the volume and the amount of money coming in is what is leading this number to jump up.
That's a big move here. We don't see that pop like that usually this time on Friday.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be like a play out there. One of the systems or one of the groups out there must have played this recently because it's gone across the market. It did open 11.5 when this opened on Sunday and got bet down pretty quickly to 10. But to get now a hook over a key number of 10, that's quite important.
Troy, we got enough data now that we can kind of see if there have been trends on interim coaches. We know in the Power Four there haven't been any wins, but almost all of them have covered. So I'm not sure if you got that data in front of you, but when we've had 7 or 8 now, I think
8-1 against the spread against their next FBS opponent.
Yeah, in the thing. So I'm not sure if you guys have been tracking that with the interim coaches.
I haven't, other than I've been on UCLA a ton. I faded them just so aggressively the first few weeks, and then as soon as they changed their coach, I jumped on the bandwagon. And, certainly didn't take them to, win outright against Penn State, but had them to cover, had them to cover basically every game. And I think, coaching change, especially early in the season, it can do a lot. It really can reignite a team because for a lot of teams, even though if they're not going to make the playoffs, there's still enough time left. I do wonder if the season is too far gone for LSU to really gain a lot of momentum. And, also the quality of their opponent's going to be harder than any other team, in the country, essentially, for teams not in the SEC, where in the Big Ten, you may have a coach going in the first game against Northwestern, against Rutgers. There aren't those teams in the SEC. But we see this in soccer, you see it in basketball, you see it in baseball before the All-Star break. I think it was last year or something, a team fired a manager and then they ripped off 9 straight wins. So it's certainly something to track as you're, making your bets. And it's something I look at very heavily in real time because it can have an impact. Now, it's been hard to track simply because there are more mid-season coaching fires at the high level than I can ever remember.
You're right, and I think that number is just going to go up as the playoff expands. Yeah. And the other thing, Troy, is rumors. The most heavily rumored teams. For instance, last week, Tulane, John Summerall's name is up for a number of jobs. They really laid an egg last week. Well, tonight, they play Memphis, whose coach, Ryan Silverfield, is also heavily rumored. He is the favorite to go to Arkansas. In fact, yesterday, I got sent this by multiple people, a very cleverly fake tweet from Ross Dellinger from Yahoo. They even had the little face with the beard and everything, and they just misspelled his name by one, and they put it out, and it got out there. It was fake that Silverfield had actually taken the job, which he hasn't yet. But you got two coaches in this thing that are at the very least highly unlikely to be back at their current schools next year, even though they haven't taken another job yet. So just the rumors at this time have affected the play.
Yeah, that's something we talked about on the 10, with the podcast myself and Greg Waddell and Doug Kazarian do on the Bet Rivers Network, as it related to Matt Rule around the Penn State hiring. Now, certainly he had, the week after he signed a new contract, so you figure, okay, things are back and straight, and Nebraska will be on the straight and narrow, and they go and lose to USC. Certainly there was an injury that certainly impacted that. But, there's so much stress, so much pressure. I mean, I despise when coaches say, I'm just a football coach. You're not. You're a leader, a booster, a CEO, a GM. For a lot of places, you're the most paid person in the state. And there's a lot of pressure, and you have to think about far more things than just X's and O's in the next game. And that does take its toll. That's why the lines move a lot. We see that. I think that has a lot to do with, add it to one of the many things that changes the line. So this has just been a fascinating season for college football. I don't know if it's been an amazing season in terms of quality play, but the storylines has been fascinating.
All right, try some of the other big movements that you've noticed here this morning as we head into the weekend.
Yeah, well, we took early money on Penn State to cover against Indiana. That line hasn't moved. It's still at 14.5. But, on Wednesday, we were seeing, I think Penn State was the third most wagered on play. That faucet has all but shut off. We have not seen any more money on Penn State. All the money's coming in on Indiana, minus 14.5. Especially in the Big Ten, we've seen some line changes, especially on the over-under. One of the more popular unders has been Rutgers games under, and you're probably thinking, why? They think, well, their defense is terrible. They can score points. Kelly McManus is a very good quarterback, and their over-unders are like 60, 64, 62. Their over-under for Maryland was 62.5. It's now down to 61. I still like the under there, although I'd like to have the other 1.5. But we are in, I believe that's about 80% of the money's on the under and 73% of the tickets are on the under, which you just don't see in college football. You don't see in any sport that strong of money on the under. So really high total, two bad teams, and, a 1.5 coming off the over-under total.
All right, give me a pick or two games that you like this weekend.
I mentioned it already, but my favorite play is Indiana minus 14.5. Penn State certainly looked a little bit better against Ohio State. Indiana's going to want to make a statement out of this. Kurt Signetti is all gas, no brakes. 14.5. I know it's on the road. I just think the world of this Indiana program. We won't know all of there is to know about them until the playoff, and maybe the Big Ten championship game. But the Big Ten is certainly not as good as the SEC and even the Big 12 at the top. So we won't know a lot about them until the playoff, but they are very good, and they should beat Penn State by 2 touchdowns in the hook. And another one that's interesting for me is I actually like BYU to cover against Texas Tech. Texas Tech at home is a different animal, but they haven't played a lot of really good defenses. If BYU can get to Morton, the Texas Tech quarterback, that's really when he turns from a great passer to just an average passer. And against Utah, that was the only good defense they played, and he struggled. He had that one big play. Other than that, he really struggled. Right now it's a BYU plus 11. That's a number I really like. I don't know if I take them plus 6.5, plus 7.5, but I do like BYU plus 11. I mean, they're undefeated. I think this is a team that can seriously make some noise. The freshman quarterback going on the road is always hard, but I like that number of BYU plus 11 against Texas Tech.
And anything in the NFL before we let you go?
Yeah, fading my team. The Commanders are 8.5-point dogs. I like the Lions to win by more than 8.5. I'm surprised this number is that low. Jaden Daniels won't be playing. I don't believe maybe Terry McLaurin's playing. I'm actually not sure. I don't think it matters. the Lions are going to want to prove a point from that embarrassing loss they had to the Commanders in the NFC Championship game. Commanders are in a bad spot. They go to Madrid next week and have a bye. They're limping around. So I really like the Lions minus 8.5.
A little bit of good news, no surgery required for Jaden Daniels, and of course we're watching him real close, but so that was a little bit of good news.
Didn't put him on IR either. They're electing to keep him off. Wait to see how he handles the bye week.
Follow him on X. Troy, Machir, joins us a couple times every week. Troy, enjoy the weekend, and we'll talk to you on Monday.
You do the same. Thanks, guys.
And we'll take a break here at Ruffino's. Again, Black Friday is approaching. Get your gift cards here at Ruffino's. They're opening early on the Friday after Thanksgiving, opening up around 7:30, 8 a.m., and you can get $100 gift cards. We'll get you a $50 bonus card that you can use between January and the end of March, and it'll be available all weekend long online, all through that holiday weekend at Ruffinos.com. Take a break. Live at lunch. Live of the Week Friday, presented by Tex Morris at Edward Jones Investments on 104.5 ESPN Bet.
It's Lock of the Week Friday, presented by Tex Morris of Edward Jones Investments. Now, back to Live at Lunch from Ruffino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
We love good coaching rumors around here, right? We got enough jobs open up where I think everybody in the country has been mentioned for. But this last one, though, I can't swallow, Max, about Lincoln Riley. The potential for him to go somewhere else.
Yeah, it's been sort of rumored that Lincoln Riley might want out at USC. I think Josh Pate reported this, sort of referenced it on one of his appearances this week. And then I heard some chatter, where would he go? Well, what about his alma mater, Texas Tech? Well, Joey McGuire, they're hosting game day this week.
They love that guy, by the way.
That's what I thought.
They love that guy. Because what's not to love right now? And if this has got any shred of truth to it, could Lincoln Riley run from any more competition? I mean, could he? Is he looking for the absolute easiest path? Because Texas Tech has got the opportunity with the money they've got, and go read Ross Dellinger's piece on where the money's coming from. It's an obnoxious amount of money. In the Big 12, I mean, they may dominate that conference with the amount of money that they've got. Is he just looking for get out of Oklahoma because I can go to USC and dominate the Pac-12, and then all of a sudden the Pac-12 disappeared on him, and now he's in the Big 10, and now it's hard again. So he's looking for somewhere else to go?
Could always be a money play as well. A lot of these coaches getting brought up in rumors.
That Texas Tech job ain't opening this year, brother. I can promise you that.
Coaching rumor
I
game.
can understand why he'd want it, though.
We got a coaching rumor game tonight. Silverfield against Summerall.
Right.
Memphis hosting Tulane. Memphis quarterback questionable. Got hurt at the end of the Rice game. We'll see how that goes.
I can't fade the rumored guy because they're probably about equally rumored going into that game tonight. It's another game I like more tonight. Tell you about that one later. Hour number 3, straight ahead here at Ruffino's. Lock of the Week Friday. Tex Morris, Edward Jones Investments.
It's Lock of the Week Friday, presented by Tex Morris of Edward Jones Investments. Now, back to Live at Lunch from Ruffino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. He's out there somewhere in the world. Maybe even your local sports book.
Can anybody help us?
Let's bring in Bruce Marshall.
And a return here at Ruffino's. Come on by and see us here. The lunch menu, including the fried Gulf shrimp, the angry shrimp with the sweet chili glazed sauce, eggplant Acadiana with the fried eggplant medallions, Louisiana crawfish tails on the top, braised short ribs with mashed potatoes, Cajun sirloin, the 8-ounce baseball cut sirloins with crawfish tails on the top, and a tiramisu for dessert. We bring in Bruce Marshall. Bruce, I thought about you last. They gave the stat on the game last night, but I read it this morning that this is the first time that 2 NFL teams have had more penalties than first downs since 1976, when the expansion Buccaneers and Seahawks did it. And it occurred to me, I said, the only person that I know that might have actually watched that game would be Bruce Marshall. So I don't know if you remember that debacle or not, but last night was pretty ugly.
It was ugly. 13-10, that score in 76. That was the Bucs' best chance to win in their winless first year, and there was also the expansion Seattle. Quite a game.
Can I take a shot at that? Steve Spurrier and Jim Zorn, the quarterbacks?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
I got it right.
Correct. Correcto, Mayo.
I didn't even look that up. I didn't even.
Well,
look that
I
up.
had
Okay.
midway through the first half, I had someone text me and say, "Are the Broncos going to get a first down tonight?" And I texted back, "You ain't seen nothing yet. Go back to their first game of 1966 at Houston. The Broncos didn't get a first down the entire game. 28-0 first downs. Their only touchdown came on a Goldie Solis kickoff return." So I said, you still got about 35 minutes to go in this game before we can say that. But it was ugly last night to be for sure. And by the way, can you guys save me? I mean, I've been in the Bay Area all week, and you read that menu at Ruffino's. What I would do to be there having lunch with you guys today instead of being in the Bay Area, I can't tell you. I almost want to get on a plane right now.
You have an open invitation, Bruce. You know that we've invited. So look, it's even the open. You never know where he's going to be. Hey, pick a week. Come on down here. We love to have you. I can't promise you good football right this second, but hey, next year, who knows?
Don't worry, Bruce. You're going to have the Super Bowl there.
You have any thoughts about the LSU coaching situation? Not necessarily the fiasco that went on the last 2 weeks in the firing and the uncertainty with AD, but who might actually take this job?
Boy, they're going to aim high, and we talked a little bit last week. I mean, Lane's going to have a chance to say no, or Jimmy Sexton's going to have a chance to say no for him. Sexton's going to control a lot of this, I think, because so many of his guys are there. So they will shoot very high. I have a feeling, would James Franklin fit at LSU? I think he's going to resurface. He seems like he wants to be in there. He's a Jimmy guy, too. He has won enough. That's a possibility. Though I don't think Lane would be first on their list, but I don't know about Franklin. But now that Auburn is opened up too, now here's another big job in the SEC. And one thing, you mentioned this a little bit last week. The dominoes haven't started to even fall yet, because once you pull a guy out of one school to another, then that job opens up. Jimmy mentioned that last week about Washington, and a couple of years ago with Jed Fish. We see that every year. You could have one guy moves, and it's then three jobs could open up. His job gets filled by somebody else. Would John Summerall be a possibility? Maybe. I think he's not the first choice, but he could be in there. There's so many different ways this could go, because there's so many big jobs. Florida, Georgia, LSU, that's just in the SEC. And Arkansas. Boy, this is really going to spin wildly the next, once we get past November. I can't wait to see what's happening in the first 2 weeks in December.
You say they're going to shoot high, and I agree. But once you get past, a friend of mine and I were doing this yesterday, how many sitting coaches in the power conferences right now have multiple conference titles? I think you can count them on one hand. Once you get past Kirby Smart, just to get one, okay? Steve Sarkisian, Lincoln Riley, Kirk Ferentz has won. There's just not. Saban won so many conference titles, and the ones he did, and Urban Meyer won, in the SEC. Some of the one-offs are not in the league anymore, like Gene Chizik or Ed Ogeron are not in the league. And even if you go to the Big Ten, there's not that many, because so many of the ones that were won by Ohio State or Michigan, those coaches are gone now. You got Ryan Day, you got Kirby Smart, Sarkisian, Riley, Ferentz, and there's probably a couple more missing. But it's a really, really short list. So when you say, well, I want to shoot high, I want to shoot with a guy that's won big, who is that guy? Because I don't know. It's a very long list.
You're right. It's just shoot high for the available guys on the list right now who might be moving.
Yeah.
And so Cignetti, you could put him in there, though. He hasn't won since, technically a title since he's at James Madison. So, but he would be in there. An interesting rumor I have heard. Now I don't know how much behind it. This is more with Florida, but Urban Meyer's apparently snooping around again. So I don't know. Maybe his name's back in the mix too. There is one other thing, too, to note here. And when I brought up Cignetti a second ago, and him, Brett Lashley, even Matt Rule, these guys have all re-upped within the last, week at their current places. And sometimes you look around, and I'm sure Cignetti thought this, and by the way, I'm all for anybody over 60 getting a great deal like he got. But he said, why do I want to leave here? I mean, I don't have to win a national title. I think I can win here. I've proven I could win. I've got all the money I could ever need. They're giving me all the support and love, and I don't have to win a national title like I have to do at Florida or LSU. Same thing with Lashley. I mean, Arkansas was going to make a big run at him, and he said, I got it great. I'd rather live in Dallas. My kids are here. I'm making a lot of money. This administration's great. I don't have to win a national title, but I can win at SMU. We'll see about a national title. But sometimes, these guys are opting to stay where they're at, and I think that's another thing to consider now, that not all these guys are on the market like we think. I would also watch Lincoln Riley's name because I think if they lose a couple times here down the stretch, and they should have lost that game last week, maybe his star has fallen a little bit too, but he's working for new people all the way at SC. I know there's a big buyout involved, but that doesn't seem to stop the big money schools right now. Keep an eye on him as well.
Yeah, looking for another easy way out, if you ask me. Max brought up the rumor before we went to break that he wants a Texas Tech job, or that he would be in line for the Texas Tech job where he went to school. Hell, I want the Texas Tech job. I mean, you give me all that money, and I don't mean just the money for me. I mean all the money to spend on players. They keep this up, they may outspend UT. So yeah, give me that job. I mean, you give me a team of all-stars, and I'll be just fine. And I'm not being critical of Texas Tech. They have the money. They're spending it legally. They just want to win. So they put themselves in position to be a heavyweight in that conference for a long time if the rules don't change. Give me that job. I mean, Lubbock can't be that bad of a place to live. I'll go. It seems like you're set up to succeed.
I'll wash Cody Campbell's car for him if he wants to pay me to go there. So there you go.
Jolly good guy to work for these days. All right, Bruce, let's get to your picks on the college football weekend.
Let's start tonight, actually, Charlie. Northwestern, USC. I said you know a bit ago. This is the first time Northwestern has played USC at the Coliseum since September 27, 1969, when as a sixth grader I went to the game with my cousin David, Uncle Lyle, and Aunt Rose. They used to take me to the USC games a lot. And SC won 48-6. Yep. Oh, Aunt Rose is great. And 48-6. SC scored in the first play of the game. Clarence Davis, 73 yards around right end, touchdown. Northwestern didn't score till the last 3 seconds of the game. Interestingly, years later, I met Jim Fossil because he actually had attended SC. This is the one game he played a lot in the second half with SC ahead, and before he passed. And we ended up talking about this game. I said, "You won't believe it, Coach. I was there." And he remembered like every pass he completed in the second half of that game. It was really interesting, but different. It'll be better than 48-6 tonight for Northwestern. I think USC was very, very fortunate, Charlie, to win that game against Nebraska last week. They were going to lose if Loyola doesn't get hurt. Nebraska was in control of that game. They had the ball in SC territory. They were up 8. They're ready to go up, 2 scores, more than 2 scores, up 21-6 maybe. He goes out. The backup quarterback was miserable. Lateef could not throw the ball downfield. We saw a couple of those last week. Boise's backup quarterback was absolutely horrific against Fresno. Wrecked that pick for me. But this and SC barely got there. Did not cover, though. Northwestern's had a week off. Northwestern, if you got 7.5 against Nebraska a couple of weeks ago, that's a game Northwestern could have won. But if you got 7.5, you got to cover, and that would be 5 straight covers for Northwestern. I like David Brown's team this year. It reminds me of his team 2 years ago. With a little bit better work at quarterback from Preston Stone, though he's not putting up numbers like he did 2 years ago at SMU, he is more effective than what they had last year, and it's a gnarly defense. They're going to slow this game down tonight. 14.5 is too much. I'll take Northwestern tonight.
And we're getting from the Queen 14? 14. All right, plus 14. 2 touchdowns with Northwestern. All right, what's next?
Okay, let's go tomorrow. Well, I actually might be tomorrow before I escape the Bay Area. And I will. By the way, I'm going to go watch Santa Clara play hoops tonight, and I want to see this kid from the G League, Thierry Darlan. Keep that in mind. We'll talk about him later this year. Supposed to be a real star. But anyway, Air Force tomorrow is up here playing San Jose State. This number has gone up during the week, guys. And look at it. God, Air Force. Air Force has played 4 straight games decided by 3 points. They have lost 3 of them. But, man, this is a low-variance team. And remember last year, they hit November, 1-7. They won their last 4. I think they're in position to do that again this year if they can get by this one tomorrow. They aren't playing that bad. Sarka is turned into a very dynamic option pilot. They're running at a little faster pace this year, but he is really good. Defensively, something to be desired. But San Jose the other way, every game is close. They finally got a win last week against Hawaii. But, I mean, they have blown leads this year and close. Now this number is moving up. I think Air Force has a chance to win, but, you know, knowing them, if it's a 3-point game, then you're getting more than 3 points with Air Force. I will take them. So Air Force in that one tomorrow up here in San Jose.
And our partners at the Queen, Max, we are
5.5.
5.5 plus 5.5.
Oh,
the
boy.
Falcons. All right. And by the way, I'm with you on that Northwestern pick. That's part of my 5-pack as well, coming up in the next segment, Bruce. Okay, next pick.
All right, let's go up to the different corner of Louisiana, but actually they're back in Newark, Delaware. They call it Newark, not Newark, playing the Blue Hens tomorrow, La Tech. And listen, Delaware kind of punched above its weight. They really fared pretty well, I think, in their first season up here as an FBS team in Conference USA. They actually won a couple games, beat UConn, actually, back in September. Not bad. But they have started to fade, and that's what a lot of people thought before the season. Missouri State and Delaware, you know, might put up a fight for a while. And Missouri State hasn't been that bad either. But Delaware now is on a 4-game point spread losing streak. Last week it all kind of fell apart against Liberty. They gave up 59 points. And, you know, the defense in particular, this is where the attrition is starting to hit, and the depth. You know, when you make the move up, that's the one problem, and that's why some of these coaches try to redshirt a lot of players before, extra players before they make the move up to FBS so they can have a little bit more depth. But it's starting to hit Delaware right now. And their offense has devolved into Nick Minicucci, the quarterback, throwing 50-some times per game. He is going to have Tommy John surgery if he's not careful, because they have just abandoned the run completely. So it's just all pass. La Tech ain't bad. In fact, they've been a really good point spread team, 11-2 against the number of their last 13 regular season games. The only real egg they threw in there was that game at Kennesaw a few weeks ago, and Kennesaw ain't bad. Western Kentucky, they could have won that game, bounced back, put 55 on Sam Houston last week, Sonny Cumbie. The defense is generally pretty good. Baker is a functional quarterback, and like I said, this team covers spreads consistently. This is not a big number, and I think Delaware is going the wrong way. La Tech for me tomorrow up in Newark.
Chamber of Commerce in Newark welcomes Louisiana Tech with sunny skies and 64 degrees. You're living right if you're in Delaware at this time of year and you're getting that kind of weather. All right, what's next, Bruce?
SEC. Let's go to Columbia, Missouri, and that is the big one tomorrow, I think, in the league, and that's A&M against Missouri. Can A&M keep this going? By the way, speaking of the SEC, I am reminded of our good friend, the sage from Memphis, Brett Norsworthy, who told me at an SEC Media Day in Hoover, so this is several years ago, about the league. He said, somebody has got to lose in this league. Not everyone can win. So anyway, just think it as a general thought in the SEC. Now, as it applies to this game, it also, you could extrapolate that a bit and say somebody has to lose at least once in the SEC. There have been some really good SEC teams, including some Nick Saban title teams that lost a game in the league, and they still ended up winning a national title. Can A&M really run the table here? I don't know. They've had a little bit more trouble on the road than they've had at home. Now, Mizzou, we talked about backup quarterbacks a minute ago and how Nebraska didn't have one and how Boise didn't have a competent one. Well, I think Mizzou's got one. And if you watch the Vanderbilt game, when Zollers came in after Perbula went down, man, he came in there firing. And this guy was a very highly rated drop-back passer, one of the top 5, 6 in the country. Eli really likes him a lot. He's going to be the heir apparent there. If Eli stays or if Eli moves, maybe there's a guy to throw in the LSU mix too. I bet he'd bring Zollers with him if he moves somewhere. But this kid really doesn't look like any drop-off at all from Perbula. And Missouri is a big boy team. A&M on the road had that escape at Notre Dame. I know that's a great win, but it was still right down to the wire. Arkansas, they couldn't shake Arkansas that whole game. This is not in College Station. This is a banana peel for A&M. I'm going to take Mizzou. I would think about doing this even on the money line for an extra bet, but just plus the points. Close game. I think Mizzou's got a shot, so I'll give Mizzou a vote.
Also on Jimmy Ott's card this week, the Missouri Tigers, plus 6.5 here at our local shop at the Queen. All right, Bruce, final pick.
Let's stick in the SEC one more. This is a little curveball here. After getting rid of Hugh Freeze, Auburn goes to Music City to play Vanderbilt tomorrow. Listen, I mean, they had to do that after the Kentucky game, and I think had Auburn lost the week before at Arkansas, they probably would have pulled the plug after that game, so Freeze was sort of a dead man walking for a while. DJ Durkin, the interim, it has not been Durkin's fault what's gone on at Auburn this year. He's coordinated the defense, which has been very, very good. Durkin is looking at this as sort of an audition, I think, for another head coaching job. If nothing else, he is going to be one of the highest-priced defensive coordinators on the market after this season. So his status is nothing wrong with his status. I get the feeling that Auburn would play everybody within a touchdown. If they play the Denver Broncos, the score would be like 17-10. They just play close every week. They just haven't been winning, except that game at Arkansas. But the defense keeps them there, and I am concerned about the offense for sure. But I'm also concerned about Vandy a little bit here, because this is right the point last year where Vandy started to lose some altitude. And it came after some very high-profile games late October last year. Here we are this year. Back-to-back, they had that Mizzou game where ESPN Game Day was there, and it was like a big party in Nashville, and exciting game. And then last week, the Texas game, another big one. This is a flat spot, and I'm only saying that from experience because you haven't seen it in Vandy's efforts. But Pavia last year, he took a few more hits last year, but this is where he started to slow down a little bit too. I actually think Auburn's going to keep this thing really close tomorrow. They'll play hard for Durkin. They've played close every game this year, all against these ranked teams. I think they'll do it again tomorrow. I'm taking Auburn plus.
You know, we saw that firsthand last November when Vanderbilt came here. They just did not look like they were beat up by that time. And this is their fourth game in a row. The other three that they preceded this, they were 60-minute games. I know they fell behind big at Texas, but they played them all the way to the end. Actually, got their hands on the ball late with an outside chance to recover that onside and pull out a miracle. But when they got to Baton Rouge last November, Bruce, they looked like they were a tired football team. Now, I think their depth is better this year. I think they're certainly better up front than they were last year, but I think that there's something to that. And I don't know how you can possibly say that Auburn would play the Broncos within a touchdown. I mean, that's Bo Nix's old team. He knows them all, right? Oh, wait, Denver can't score against anybody. So I think you're probably right on that one. So Auburn is a choice, plus 6 here at the Queen. Anything in the NFL?
Yeah, I got two here. One, I'm actually going to stick my neck out with the Jets here because they really haven't been that bad. They could have beat the Steelers, they could have beat the Bucs, they could have beat the Broncos. They finally got a win last week. Fields looked good. Brees Hall is running, but this is also an anti-Browns pick. What are they doing laying any points on the road? This team can't score. Look at their road games this year. They haven't been closer than 14. They don't have an NFL quarterback. I think the Jets win this game straight up, so I can play on the money line too, but certainly if you get any points, I'll take the Jets. One more. I think it's a Sunday night game this week, I think. Is it? No, it's the Steelers Sunday night. Late Sunday afternoon. The Lions will batter Washington. I think Washington is a complete mess right now. Now Jaden is hurt again. Mariota's not given them the spark since the Raider game earlier in the year, and that was just the Raiders. He hasn't looked good. The defense has fallen apart. Lions are a little bit upset. They also lost to these guys in the playoffs last year. Detroit seems like they've lost a little something this year, but this is a chance to get it all right, and I am just going against Washington every week. So let's lay points on the road with the Lions on Sunday.
Lions are 8.5. The Jets are plus 1.5. I'm a big Jets fan these days, Bruce. I'm a big Tennessee Titans fan. I know they're off this weekend. I'm trying to get the Saints the first pick in the draft. I know they're going to screw it up anyway, but I'm trying to get them the first pick in the draft. So those two, the most important games left on the Saints schedule against the Jets and against the Titans. I would love to have a little bit of leeway towards the first pick in the draft. So I'm Jets, Jets. Go right ahead. Hope that they win tomorrow. Bruce, we always appreciate it. Thanks a lot, man, and we will talk to you next week. I hope you escape California in good shape.
I will escape, I promise. Thank you. Have a good weekend.
Thanks a lot. Bruce Marshall with us every Friday here at Ruffino's. Again, where our gift cards are starting on Black Friday. Early in the morning on Black Friday, get your stocking stuffers. Every $100 will get you a $50 gift card. That bonus card can be used between January and the end of March, and also be available all holiday weekend long. RuffinosRestaurant.com online. Log of the Week Friday, presented by Tex Morris at Edward Jones Investments on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Charles Hannegriff's 5-pack of picks. Brought to you by Supreme Rice. Make sure you use Louisiana rice, grown by Louisiana farmers since 1936. Available at most local grocery stores. Supreme Rice.
Even Steven for the year, Max. What is it, 27, and 3?
23, 23, and 4.
23, 23, and 4, which means that we are behind 2.3 units. So let's see if we can rectify that. I thought I had some bad luck last week, but, of course, I always think I have bad luck when I lose. No, some of those.
Texas, yes, bad luck.
Texas was bad luck. All right, let's start off. I told you I agreed with Bruce with Northwestern. Winners of 4 straight until they lost last week against Nebraska by 7. They had more rushing yards. They had more passing yards. So, of course, they had more total yards. Why'd they lose by 7? Nebraska returned a kickoff for a touchdown. Let's assume that won't happen this week. USC, good offense, bad defense. Northwestern, good defense, bad offense. Against the number, Northwestern 5-2-1. USC 2-4 in their last 6, and one of those wins was by half a point. Seems like too many points to lay with the Wildcats. I'll take Northwestern plus the 14 at the Mausoleum. Going to take West Virginia at home -6 at the Queen against Colorado. A little late in the season, but we get a freshman quarterback making his first road start. Julian Lewis starting. Deion Sanders says it's because of common sense. I guess it just became common sense in the last couple of weeks, but okay. Besides that, Colorado has given up 105 points in the last 2 weeks. You know where that puts them in the Big 12 in total defense?
Dead last?
You would think, but Oklahoma State's been so bad that it's second to last. Yeah. West Virginia competitive in their loss to TCU, and they beat Houston last week. Now, they did win the turnover battle in that game 4-0, but they also outgained Houston in that game. What's that?
Impressive win, 12.5-point dogs.
Yeah, fighting Rich Rods are showing some signs of life, giving the Mountaineers -6. Going to take Mississippi State. This line has moved up to now 9.5. Taking the Battle of the Bulldogs, will take Mississippi State plus 9.5 against Georgia. Georgia won tough against Florida last week. That's always a physical game. Next week, they get Texas. In between, a sleepy little trip for an 11 o'clock in the morning game against Mississippi State in Stark Vegas, where Mississippi State almost beat Texas, should have beat Texas, almost beat Tennessee, and did beat Arizona State. Got a win last week against Arkansas. They've scored 38 points in their last 2 games. I think Georgia wins it, but it's closer than this number. Give me Mississippi State, the Fighting Cowbells, plus 9.5. We're going to take Kentucky, another home underdog, plus 3 against Florida. Gators off of a tough loss to Georgia last week. Their game is always physical. Next week, they go to Ole Miss. In between, a sleepy little trip to Lexington, where Kentucky was in it most of the way against Ole Miss. Frankly, should have beaten Texas. And they get a confidence boost with their win at Auburn last week. If Florida wins, I think it is very, very close. I actually like Kentucky to win this game outright. But I will take the 3 points in Lexington with the Wildcats. And Oregon State minus 20.5. What did I say last week? I said 2 weeks ago. I wasn't laying crazy points, but I did lay them against Oklahoma State, and I lost. I said I don't like to lay those big point spreads. You know what I'm doing, Max? I'm laying a big point spread. Oregon State minus 20.5 against Sam Houston. Let me explain myself here. Sam Houston is 0-8. They are 1-7 against the spread. In the 7 games that Sam Houston has failed to cover, they have failed to cover by an average of 15 points. Let me say that again. They're not failed to win. They have not lost these games by 15 points. They have lost these games by an average of 15 points over the spread. So that's just so bad. I don't know what to say about it. Now, they did cover one time. They were a 7-point dog against Jacksonville State. They lost by 2. I'm ashamed to say that I actually watched that game. Jacksonville State outgained them by 213 yards. They out first down them by 26-15. How Jacksonville State didn't cover in that game, they blew a lot of chances to score. They missed some field goals. But let's just call that a one-off. The only team that might be worse in the entire nation out of 136 than Sam Houston State is UMass. And when you know it, Oregon State has won 2 in a row after they lost their first 7 games. They thought it couldn't possibly matter less, but all that's required here is, pretty much that they just show up. 24 healthy players ought to do it. Coach wants to come along. I guess that's fine, but they really don't need it. Beavers, please tell me that this game is homecoming. That would have been smart to do. 48 degrees and clear. I was actually hoping for some snow, but no such luck there. But I think Oregon State wins this game against what I think is either the worst or the second worst team in all of D1.
I don't always want to lay almost 3 touchdowns.
I don't ever want to lay 3 touchdowns. But
Jeff Sagrin does a power rating. They're 136. FBS teams.
It would be a very competitive game with UMass if they played
Sam
them.
Houston 217.
Nobody would watch.
McNeese State is ranked better than Sam Houston. UMass would be a 1.5 point underdog on a neutral, according to him. To
Sam Houston would be favored.
Just slightly.
They were favored. What was that game? We were doing a show at Sammy's, and they were playing a weeknight game, and they were favored. And I'm like, why? It was like early October. Like, why in the world are they favored? And of course, they got pummeled. I mean, they are a horrendous football team.
They were favored, as I remember, New Mexico State.
Yeah, that's it.
Week 6, lost 37-10.
Yeah, I remember saying, it's like, they haven't come close to covering. They've been in one competitive game the entire year, and I just gave you the stats on that. They were outgained by over 200 yards, which is Jacksonville State. I think they had a fumble. They missed a couple of field goals. It was just screwy. They should have scored. They should have scored way more than they did. This is an awful.
I bet them twice
team
this year. I bet them against UNLV, a team that struggled against the number UNLV covered in that game. I tried to catch 39.5 against Texas when Texas was really struggling early in the year. Even Texas blew them out 55-0. So it's not worked out for them against the number 1 cover all year long.
Well, I was hoping for bad weather. I can't imagine they're real excited about going to Corvallis right now. It's just a long plane ride to get your ass kicked. So anyway. Give me Oregon State. So 5 picks: Oregon State, Kentucky, Mississippi State, West Virginia, and Northwestern in the Friday night special.
By the way, you think coaches matter? They were 10-3 last year with Casey Keeler, who went on to Temple. Temple's doing pretty well this year, but they were 10-3. They won the New Orleans Bowl last year.
And how many? You probably don't have this in front of you, but how many players went with Keeler?
They lost like everybody.
Yeah,
they were a massive fade team early in the year.
You can't even say, well, the players that he left behind. Everybody leaves. It's like the season's over, clean out your locker, close the door, turn out the lights, and you're on the first thing smoking out of town. Picks brought to you by Supreme Rice and SupremeRice.com. We're getting closer to the holidays. I know you're cooking something with rice. Make it with Supreme Rice. Support our Louisiana farmers. Since the 1930s, all of our Supreme Rice grown, milled, and processed down in Southwest Louisiana. So if you're making a rice dressing, maybe it's getting close to time to make gumbo, etouffee, red beans or white beans, make it with Supreme Rice. The brown, the long grain, the medium grain, the jasmine, and the parboiled rice, which is Jimmy's favorite. If he'd ever invite me over on Mondays, might be able to enjoy some of that restaurant quality rice. You can pick it up at all your AG food stores, your Walmart, your Rouse's, where we'll be tomorrow for our pregame. Make it with Supreme Rice. Part of the Climate Smart program, reducing methane emissions and promoting water conservation. For more information, delicious recipes, go to SupremeRice.com. Come back with Max's Picks when we return. Lock of the Week Friday, presented by Tex Morris at Edward Jones Investments here at Rufino's on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. All right, if you missed Jimmy's picks earlier, he is traveling today towards Tuscaloosa. Had Texas Tech, Iowa, North Carolina, Missouri, and Clemson. And now it's time for Max.
All right, going to start off with Indiana, Penn State. Going to take a total in this game. Penn State's got a new quarterback. And Drew Aller, do we think that highly of him anyway? No. Grunkemeier's come in. He's got 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, but they have moved the ball a little bit, mainly because their running game is still pretty good. Penn State can run the ball a little bit. They scored 14 against Ohio State last week, 24 against Iowa's defense, which, I think that's pretty respectable for having a backup quarterback. Meanwhile, Indiana, they have got a great defense, but they score in bunches. 55 and 56 in their last 2 games. Penn State's defense has been underwhelming all year long. That's been their real weakness in terms of what their expectation was. Their defense was overrated going into the year. And Indiana has a Heisman Trophy candidate who they are unafraid to run up the score against. So instead of taking Indiana laying points by a lot on the road, I'm going to take the over in this game. Over of 50 and a half. Yeah, it's still under 51. So Indiana, Penn State, over 50 and a half. I think it's a good spot for both offenses just to get on the board.
I think if your name is Ethan Grunkemeyer, you have to play tight end for Iowa.
That does sound like an
Iowa tight end, right?
Maybe a punter as well, but
Grunkemeyer, you got to play. Yeah, you can't play quarterback if your name's Grunkemeyer. All right, next.
Field rush fade. One of Jimmy's favorites. I'm not always the biggest proponent of this, but it does work more often than it doesn't. And SMU stormed the field. They brought the goalpost down. They're now going up to Boston College. And BC's not been very good. There's been some speculation about the future of Bill O'Brien, but they're catching 10.5 at home against the Mustangs. SMU's not a team that really wows me all that much. They did come off a big win, though, of course, and they were impressive in that game against Miami. BC, they've committed to a quarterback. There's been some speculation. They haven't got a whole lot of great play out of Grayson James, but they're going to go with him again this week. Meanwhile, they've gotten healthier. They started the season really, really banged up. They have 1 win against Fordham. That's it. They have really, really struggled, but I think catching 10.5 in a kind of a weird spot for SMU, I think this is just one that SMU is going to try to get out there with a win. They also have Louisville on deck after a bye week, so this is a sleepy spot for them.
Jimmy missed a field rush fade and a freshman quarterback making his first start on the road in the same week. You see, you get him traveling. You knock his schedule all off.
Road games, they can be tough for everybody.
Road games are tough for everybody. All right, BC plus 10.5. Next.
All right, this one
also, is that the red bandana game? I'm pretty sure it is.
Is it really?
Yeah.
That would be a bigger boost.
I'm almost certain that's the red bandana game. And if you don't know the story of the red bandana game, go Google it, go to YouTube and watch it, and be prepared to be moved because it's.
It is. Yeah. It is. Wow. I'm even more in now.
Yeah. One of the most inspiring, gut-wrenching stories that you'll ever see ESPN do on the red bandana game. Yeah, red bandana game. Okay, BC. Next.
All right, I had 6, and then you helped me narrow down to 5 here during the break. I'm going to take Purdue catching 29.5 against Ohio State. Yes, the number 1 team in the nation who is 7-0-1 against the spread. They haven't failed to cover all season long. But this is a team that plays at a very slow tempo. They're bottom 5 in the country in terms of plays per game. So they're not a team that's really going to score 50 all that much. 38, 34, 34 in their last 3 games. And now they're laying almost 30 points themselves. Purdue, meanwhile, give them credit. Barry Odom's done a good job there. They're just keeping games close. I know they haven't really beaten anybody of worth, but a 7-point loss to Minnesota, 3-point loss to Rutgers, a 5-point loss at Michigan last week, catching 21. So they're a team that's just a little bit feisty here, and I think they can score just enough to keep this within the number. Ohio State's not going to run up and down the scoreboard here because of their pace. So I'm going to take a bunch of points, 29.5 with the Boilermakers.
I like to pick. The one game that I can't figure out with Purdue is when Northwestern shut them out, because they've been able to move the football against just about everybody. The defense has been the real liability. But that one clunker they threw in up in Evanston where they got shut out 19-0. Other than that, I like to pick. What's number 4?
All right, 2 more spots here that Jimmy would love. I just talked field rush fade. Now we're going to talk about an interim coach. He's been talking about it all week long, and we've got an interim coach there making his first appearance in Nashville. I'm going to take DJ Durkin's Auburn Tigers plus 6.5. Heard some noise this week from some Auburn faithful that maybe DJ Durkin might be getting a look here at the head coaching job as well. Look, he's been a head coach before. There were some circumstances that happened there in Maryland that ousted him. But he's been a good defensive coordinator. There's no doubt. This defense has been very good for Auburn. Vanderbilt, you mentioned it earlier, they're a team that maybe kind of peaked a little bit earlier in the season, just like they did last year. Diego Pavia takes a lot of hits over a season, and maybe that affects him a little bit. That was a very misleading scoreline, 34-31. We were on the wrong end of that last week against Texas. They got boat raced in that game. Auburn's going to limit their possessions, and Vanderbilt plays at a slow pace anyway. So I think Auburn, who knows what their offensive play calling is. You at least got rid of one of their 3 play callers, as they had 3 different play callers for 3 different downs under Hugh Freeze. At least that changes a little bit. I don't think the quarterback plays any good, but Auburn's been feisty. They play very close games, all one-possession losses so far this season. So I'm going to take 6.5 against Vanderbilt.
I'd be surprised if Durkin got that job, even if they were to win a couple of games. I guess if they beat Alabama, that carries a whole lot of weight. Sumrall there
yes.
from Huntsville, and obviously coached at Troy. And Jeff Traylor at UTSA, another name that I've heard. Not that I'm focusing in on that. I got my own coaching search to worry about over here, but those are the 2 names I've heard the most at Auburn. All right, last one.
One more spot, my lock of the week, and I'm going to break a rule that I have never done here in this segment. I've been doing the 5-pack for – this is my 3rd year now joining this show, and I've always made a rule, no matter what side – do not take an LSU game. We talk about the game enough. You've got 5 plays. Maybe it's one of your top 5 plays if you really like LSU or really like whoever they're playing, but we don't take them in the 5-pack. I'm breaking that rule in this situation. Frank
it's more
Wilson,
of a guideline than a rule, but go ahead.
For me it has been. LSU's now catching 10.5 at Alabama, and I've pinpointed this spot all year long for a lot of the reasons we mentioned when we had Richard Dixon on earlier. It's a great matchup for LSU, in my opinion, and it has been all year long because Alabama, pass-heavy team. LSU's defense, to me, especially without Whit Weeks, has been struggling in run defense, in the power, against power plays. LSU, meanwhile, they're great outside. So I think they can challenge. I think they're going to try to blitz with extra guys and try to get Ty Simpson rattled a little bit. This is going to be a lower-scoring game to me, more likely. But LSU also, if they're going to run the ball now with Frank Wilson, which you expect they're going to try a little bit more traditional run-style game, this is a team to do it against. Alabama, not great against the run. They're just not as good in the trenches as Texas A&M was a couple weeks ago. I thought A&M was a bad spot. Even though they're coming to LSU, I just thought it was a bad matchup. This is totally different. Now they get the interim boost with Frank Wilson. I think they're ready to go. Bama's just going to be happy to win this game. It's still a big enough game for them to just survive and advance at this point. I'm going to take the 10.5 with the LSU Tigers.
I admire your courage. The last time I picked LSU, they fired the head coach, the offensive coordinator, and the athletic director. In fact, if you want to get down to it, they almost fired the athletic director twice. So I'm going to lay off, but I admire your courage. All right, Indiana and Penn State over 50.5. Boston College plus 10.5. Purdue plus 29.5. Auburn plus 6. LSU plus 10.5. You win the prize for taking the most points this week, which is an enviable place to be. We're brought to you by Total Maintenance, AC and heating, generators, electricity, plumbing. Total Maintenance, your one-stop sales and service shop for all of these needs. South Louisiana, one of South Louisiana's oldest and largest AC and heating companies. Their slogan since 1980 has been service today, every day, so nobody has to go to sleep uncomfortable. Full-service staff in both New Orleans and Baton Rouge with an authorized dealer for Carrier, American Standard, Daikin, and Rheem AC units, Generac, and Cummings generators for all your electrical and plumbing needs as well in Baton Rouge. 480-1000 in New Orleans, 841-3300. Service today, every day at Total Maintenance. Back to wrap it up here at Ruffino's Log of the Week Friday, presented by Tex Morris at Edward Jones Investments on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
It's Lock of the Week Friday, presented by Tex Morris of Edward Jones Investments. Now, back to Live at Lunch from Ruffino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Arizona State coach Kenny Dillingham told his players he will be returning as coach next year at ASU. He says, my next-door neighbor is my sister. My parents live 3 doors down. I could point out that with what he's going to get paid, he could move the whole, load up the truck and move everybody wherever he wanted. But if he likes it there, that's cool. I got no problem with that. Big day tomorrow. We'll start out with Eagle 98.1 game day at 1:30 ahead of LSU and Alabama. Anxious to see what everybody that is involved with pregame has to say about tomorrow, because it's a big unknown. with an interim coach. Anytime you go with an interim coach, don't know exactly how the team's going to respond to that. Sometimes you get a big jolt, and sometimes not. We'll see. We know what our trend has been. Max, give them the stat again.
8-1 against the spread in interim roles against their next FBS opponent.
But straight up.
Ooh.
I think it's reversed. I think it's 1-8 or 2-7.
2.
Yeah. The point is that usually they have been covering, but they have not been winning the game outright. And frankly, if I forced to make a pick on tomorrow's game, that's probably what I would tell you is that I think LSU has a good chance to cover. I do not think they have a good chance to win. But I'm going to, point out that 2021 game again. They were a 28-point underdog against the number 2 team in the country in Alabama and took the game to the last play. So anything is possible. Sunday morning, we are at Caesars in New Orleans for Football Sunday. Rohan will be with us on Sunday morning. And Monday, we will be at Chris Specialty Foods right across the street from where we are right now. Thanks to the folks here at Ruffino's. Always our favorite place to be every Friday for the last 15 years. And we invite you to come on out and see us. For Max, for Jordan, for Jimmy, and all of us, I'm Charles Hanniger saying thank you and good afternoon. Stay tuned for Matt Hunt on 104.5.
Live at lunch.